where'd he get all the Star Destroyers from?
No, we're not doing this. We can't do this again.
We have to do this every week.
Until we get an answer.
Until we get answers. I'm going to the Disney studio and figuring this out.
Kathleen going to that weird office hallway that we created.
Oh, you mean the one where John Watts gets just smoked right out of the Marvel room? And then Kathleen Kennedy's like, hey, you want to direct a movie? And then John Watts is like, what's a movie? And then he got pulled into the office and he's just now directing a young adult movie.
For Star Wars?
He can't escape with Jude Law.
Can't wait.
Can't wait.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Project Infinite podcast, the podcast covering the infinite and ever-expanding multiverse of fandom, from movies, comics, TV shows, video games. We got you covered. I'm here. I'm Rob. As always, I'm here with Court. Court, we're here to talk about a pretty fantastic show today.
Yeah. Here to talk about Peacemaker again.
Nope, that's not it.
I think we're talking about Miss Marvel.
Yes.
The script editor looked at me with the death stare and said, talk about Miss Marvel, so we will.
Yeah, the Marvel execs came down and were like, you're going to talk about this Disney Plus show.
I just see a red dot on Rob's forehead, so I guess we're going to talk about Miss Marvel, which, in all seriousness, I think we both agree is a pretty good show. I really enjoyed this show, and I actually can't wait to talk about this one. Not only for the quality of what this show gave us, but some of the revelations that we gained from this show are going to be really interesting for the future of the MCU. So.
Yeah, this probably along with Loki did the best balance of like actual stuff happening and like developing like a thing, and then also the greater implications on the furthering of the cinematic universe.
Agreed. I mean, it's kind of tough to reach where Loki, the heights, but this show in its own, bubble and sect of the MCU definitely did that and then some. So, yeah, like I said, I can't wait to talk about this one. But first things first, got some news to throw at everybody.
Yep,
and
we got some news.
Clear out, throw me the lob, man.
Yeah, so as always, there are a certain number of topics that we automatically lead with when we have news. One of which is Dune.
What's the other things?
Fast and Furious.
Fast and Furious. Jeffrey Wright.
Oppenheimer.
And Barbie.
And Barbie now. Andrew Garfield.
Who's
nominated for an Emmy.
Yeah, he supersedes everything pretty much.
And Dune. Yeah. So Dune 2. Dune 2. More Dune. More Dune is happening. We're back in the Dune.
Yeah, we're back in the Dunes.
Is officially beginning filming. And I believe you have a plot synopsis for us.
I do have a plot synopsis. So, Dune 2 is in production. Couldn't be happier. And this film is going to take place. And Paul unites Chani and the Fremen while on a warpath of revenge against those who destroyed his family. And I was watching Dune the other day, and I was like, this man is going to need to get some reconciliation for what happened. His whole life just flashed before his eyes in one night. It's a really tense, I really love that sequence where it happens, and it's funny, I think some people didn't love that aspect of the movie because they didn't have like knowledge of the Dune universe, so they were like, okay, well, we just watched all this stuff be developed for nothing, for all this to be upended. I'm like, this is a part of the journey. How many movies gets made, how many HBO Max shows get made, like, the culmination of everything is going to be what Dune's story is really going to thrive and shine as. But I didn't even finish the synopsis. I just wanted to talk about that. But facing a choice between the love of his life, the fate of the universe, he endeavors to prevent a terrible future only he can foresee, which we also did see in that film. A sequence where I really enjoy, and I think I talked about it during the Dune review. One thing I think that film gets right, and probably one of the best examples in just film, period, is kind of splitting reality from the dream sequences. It's some of the best you will ever see. And that sequence specifically where he kind of sees the war that he's kind of practiced to be one of the leaders of. It's a really incredible sequence. I just love how, just talking, camera and cinematography for a second, I just love how in it he's in the tent and it's kind of like it's a solid single, and then it comes to a super clean single of Chani. Like, these dream sequences are overly, like, they're so purposely over dramatic and overly saturated and like have a lot of lens. It's incredible what the world that Denis and Greg Fraser behind the camera were able to create. So, I mean, just based off what we're getting, we're getting Christopher Walken as Shaddam the Fourth, the Emperor. We're getting Florence Pugh as Princess Irulan. We're getting, I mean, the big one, in my opinion, is getting Austin Butler as Phaedroth. I think he's going to be the perfect contemporary for Timothée Chalamet's Paul Atreides. And people, don't be surprised if Paul Atreides isn't the good man that he's supposed to be. And I mean, that's what Dune is. That's one of the big themes of Dune, is following leaders blindly. That's one of the big parts, and that's what Frank Herbert was trying to go for. So
yeah, it's a real subversion of the trope that is kind of what Paul is in the first movie.
It's the action hero. It kind of upends the action hero.
Upends the idea of like the quote unquote white savior.
Right.
It does that too. There's a lot of intriguing things probably still to come in this universe that I'm really excited to see unfold.
So that little love triangle that he's going to have between Irulan himself and Chani is going to be interesting. I just, the way that film ends, and that was another thing that people weren't too keen on, was the ending. They thought it was anticlimactic. I thought that ending was really chilling, because everything doesn't need to end in a huge bang. It's just it's the personal decision for him to kill his first man, and what this brings. Like, the birth of the Kwisatz Haderach wasn't some big, wasn't some massive, explosion of fury. It was this subtle thing where he had to make a decision, and he did. And what it kind of created was this journey that he's now set on. And I think it's set up for a really beautiful looking movie, an intense narrative that we're going to get in the next movie. And I just can't wait to see him versus Austin Butler. That's really got me intrigued for the second movie.
Yeah. I mean, and the first one was also already a movie that was nominated for Best Picture, and obviously cleaned up the kind of more technical awards, so it's got a lot to follow, but I think this is going to be probably the one that gets even more like commercially. Yeah,
I think so too. Yeah, I think they needed a little bit of, I think they needed Dune 1 to do what it did. I think they needed it to be a little bit more, give people a little bit of time to get acclimated to, so now people are acclimated, and then you get arguably a guy that just played one of the biggest figures to ever walk the earth, Elvis, like in Austin Butler. You get Florence Pugh, who's at the top of the world, and then you get Christopher Walken, like one of the most veteran actors in the world. Like, you're getting some extremely heavy hitters to go alongside two already extremely young heavy hitters with Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya. So just the story itself, like the Dune lore, is it's incredible. I think it's really interesting. It's not simplistic. There's a lot of themes that you search, and it's not so black and white. I just love how Dune operates in the gray. Yeah. But we're in the end game now.
Yeah. Well, we're also kind of just getting started with this universe.
Yeah.
We do have some MCU casting news. So Alden Ehrenreich, as many of you may know, as young Han Solo in Solo, a Star Wars
Solo, a Solo story.
Solo, a Solo story, has been cast in Ironheart, which is coming next year. And we're going to possibly see Riri Williams in Black Panther 2.
Yeah, I do think we're going to get the trailer on Saturday during San Diego Comic-Con, and I do think we're going to get the first look at her, but this show's putting together a pretty solid cast at this point, because is Don Cheadle going to be in the show? Did he say he was going to? I don't know if they said he's going to be in this show, but we already know that we're getting he's escaping my name. I'll remember it. And by I remember it, Rob's going to look it up while we talk.
But yeah, so he's been cast in an undisclosed role. That is Alden Ehrenreich.
Yeah, but I have a theory on who he's going to be. And I think he's going to be Obadiah Stane's son.
Anthony Ramos.
Anthony Ramos, yep. Yeah. So this show's got a pretty solid cast running right now. Anthony Ramos, I mean, the way they were hyping up his role when that was first announced, saying he's going to have a huge
impact. It's very weird.
Yeah, they were like, he's going to be a character that people know, and he's going to have a huge impact on the MCU. So I don't know who that could be. However, I do think that
IMDb has Alden Ehrenreich cast as Riri Williams.
That's the show. He's going to show up in Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and he's just going to be like, yep, it's me, Riri Williams.
That seems like an odd choice, but all right.
It wouldn't be my first choice. It probably wouldn't have been my seventh choice. But yeah, I do think he's playing Obadiah Stane's son. I think that's a safe bet to make. I think that Obadiah's son's going to want a little revenge.
Of course.
Yeah.
Death taxes and Tony Stark creating all the villains.
Yeah. He said Riri Williams was able to build this in a dorm room.
But no, good. I'm glad that he's getting more opportunities to do higher profile things.
Right. After the, sadness of what was the fallout of Solo. A pretty dare I say it?
You like this movie quite a bit.
I do like Solo quite a bit. I love the cinematographer on Solo, Bradford Young. He worked on Arrival. He worked on Selma. I mean, he's one of the best in the business. So I have a little bit of leeway for Solo, but I mean, I think Solo's story is pretty interesting. I think it's underrated. I think it was perceived before the movie came out as people already had judgment against it.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. And he's good in it. Obviously, that role is impossissible to fill. I mean, we talked in our 80s episode about Harrison Ford and just that time of his life where he was at the absolute peak of his powers as an actor. Right. And he was arguably the best actor in the world during that time period, playing Han Solo, playing Indiana Jones. And, we talked about...
How could you leave out The Fugitive?
You put that gun down?
Can we add Tommy Lee Jones to the list of people that we just automatically stan at any given moment?
Absolutely. I love Tommy Lee Jones. But yeah.
Wars aren't won by weapons. They're won by men. And we're going to win this war because we have the best men.
I'm not kissing you.
Yeah, I'm not kissing you. Shout out Tommy Lee Jones. I hope Tommy Lee Jones is having a good day.
Tommy Lee Jones, who is just Tommy Lee Jones and everything he's in it. And it works.
But in a respectable way.
Oh, yeah.
In a way I can respect.
It absolutely works for him.
Yeah, it does.
But that's all I got to say. Alden Ehrenreich.
Yeah, Ironheart. Going to be Obadiah Stane's son. Don't quote me because I don't know, but I think
it sounds about right.
Yeah.
Moving on to more Top Gun news, because this movie is just...
I had it in my head that Everything Everywhere All at Once was the best movie this year, and then I just get a second and I think about Top Gun, and I'm like, ooh, this might be the best movie of the year. So it's so good.
Because of this just absurd staying power that this movie seems to have, it has become Paramount's highest grossing movie, overtaking Titanic, which is not a small feat.
No, the feat's almost as big as the iceberg that took the Titanic out. Yeah. Can somebody make a meme where it's just the iceberg, but it just says Top Gun written on it?
I mean, I don't have much else to say.
No, I don't.
We've
talked about this movie enough.
For weeks, months now.
It's so point. Good.
I mean, kind of segueing a little bit to Thor dropping, I think, 65% at the box office, which is not uncommon, but just comparing that to what Top Gun has been doing for the past month and a half now is just kind of nuts.
It is. It's insane. I couldn't be happier. I mean, I was listening to the editor of that film talk, and I listened to the cinematographer of that film talk, just, doing my own personal research. But it's just funny because that's an example of just the pinnacle of what movie making can be. I wanted to make that point when we were talking about Dune a couple minutes ago. It's what movie making can be. It's this grandiose level of minimal CGI, building sets. Like, that's what movie making is. It's immersing you in a world, and Top Gun is a familiar world, Dune's an unfamiliar world, but what they have in common is they're able to kind of get your unconscious self to, buy into these characters and, feel for them and have similarities to them, and it's filmmaking, man. It's movie making. It's the beauty of it.
Yeah, and that's showing time and time again as this movie just continues to have... People are still seeing it. Yeah. Some couple months after it's been released.
I'm not going to be surprised if Tom Cruise turns into like one of Hollywood, because he already is technically, but I mean, I'm talking like he stops acting and he's just like, I'm going to be Hollywood's like number one producer. Like, people are going to want to come work with me and have his own named like studio himself.
Are they going to make another one of these?
I personally hope not. I just think the lightning in the bottle they captured in this movie is just so organic and it's just so rich that I think dipping in again would be a little bit overselling its value.
I think he's smart enough to realize that.
Agreed. Yep.
Because, I mean, we talked about kind of the through line with him is he doesn't really do sequels often.
No. Mission Impossible
aside,
but I talked about it when I think we were talking about No Time to Die. I think I touched on how much I love the new age Mission Impossible, specifically because of him and Christopher McQuarrie. Like, that's a person that I think people should have on like their name short list of people that aren't like actors or directors in Hollywood, even though Christopher McQuarrie directed Mission Impossible Fallout, but just as like a producer and like a person that's like has like the pen to the page, like their level of understanding of like building these worlds is so incredible. And like not to discredit or even bring Marvel into this, but it's just there's something so refreshing about the way they do it. Like, those new age Mission Impossible movies again are just, they're franchises that don't get lazy, but they do the opposite. They get competitive almost. Like, they understand that, like, we can't just keep competing with these, not for nothing, these Marvel movies every year, these DC movies, these Star Wars movies, and get killed and not enough people are watching these movies. Why don't we make the best movie possible? And Top Gun did it. And I do think this new Mission Impossible, what are they? They're doing 2 movies, I think.
Yeah, it's a part 1, part 2 deal.
I think those 2 movies are going to be real incredible. I mean, I said it before, I'll say it again. Fallout's one of the greatest action movies ever made. That movie just understands how to shoot action, but also there's this balance between the softer moments and the larger than life moments, and they just let Tom Cruise produce Hollywood. Let him do it. The whole thing. He's doing a really great job. Just movie making in general. It's just, I'm in awe of it. Yeah,
it's nuts. So moving on, we talked a bit about Black Panther 2 a little bit ago, but some news out of that is Daniel Kaluuya is not coming back in Black Panther 2, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, it is. It's because of the Gritty Barney reboot he's doing. How do you spin a Gritty Barney? Who's directing this Gritty Barney reboot?
Is he
Roland Emmerich?
No.
Let Roland Emmerich do a Gritty Barney reboot.
It's been a while since we talked about Roland Emmerich on this podcast.
Have you seen Moonfall?
No, I haven't.
What was he doing?
Who let him do this?
Who's some other directors that we should get for this Gritty Barney reboot? Michael Bay.
Oh my god. Rob Zombie.
Martin Scorsese.
Rob Zombie.
Zombie's crazy.
So, a quick quote from him. From Daniel Kaluuya.
Oh, I thought you were going to say from Roland Emmerich. I said, how did you get a Roland Emmerich quote so quick?
He said...
Roland Emmerich said, crash the boot into the earth. That's the whole quote.
So he did confirm that his live-action Barney movie is happening, and it will be darker than TV show, stating, quote, Barney taught us, I love you, you love me, won't you say you love me too? That's one of the first songs I remember. What happens when that isn't true?
I need him to, narrate this and put it in the beginning of the movie.
That's like the Moonfall log line. Remember the Moonfall log line?
I told you, everything's Roland Emmerich.
What if the moon isn't what you think?
The moon was aliens? Sorry for spoilers for Moonfall. How could they do that to Patrick Wilson? I love Patrick Wilson.
And Halle Berry.
What did they do to deserve Moonfall?
But yeah, back to Black Panther 2. It's unfortunate that he's not going to be coming back, because the real reason he's not in is scheduling conflicts with Nope, because that's Jordan Peele's guy.
Yeah. Well, are we going to review Nope? I think Nope might be deserved to be.
Oh crap! That's out next week, isn't it?
It is. We're so packed the next couple weeks.
Oh man,
we still got to talk about The Boys. We still got to talk about Umbrella Academy. Comic-Con's probably going to blow the internet out of the water.
But yeah,
we still got to talk about Daredevil.
I
gotcha.
We don't know a whole lot about this Black Panther movie.
No. I think we're going to get answers on Saturday, but we do not. And I think that was purposeful. What I think it more was is I don't think they wanted people to focus on what's this new lore of... No, they were like, Chadwick unfortunately passed away. I think we should give him a little bit of we should give time for,
And this movie,
separation,
I think I said when it was announced that, the Wakanda Forever tagline, it does feel like this movie, as much as it is going to obviously further the story of the MCU, but it's also going to be like a love letter to Chadwick Boseman.
100%.
I would assume. I think that's what this is gearing up for. It's going to be a type of movie that we're going to have to watch a little differently, I feel like, because I feel like this is going to be kind of a unique kind of thing.
I'm not excited for how some fans are going to perceive this, because I think they're going to try to overly dissect this movie, and it's just not what this is about.
Right, exactly.
It's not what this is. So, please don't. Please just let one of, genuinely a great person's legacy just live on.
Yeah, agreed. Lord of the Rings got another trailer.
And guess what we have to say about it?
Looks like Lord of the Rings.
Looks like Lord of the Rings. always does, always will.
It looks great.
It looks polished. It looks really clean. I'm personally excited for this show. It's gonna give me an excuse because I think I said it before. I watched the Lord of the Rings, but I watched them like very young.
Yep.
So like I remember them, but I really don't as much as I should. So I can't wait to have an excuse because I mean, what's the second Lord of the Rings movie?
Which second one? The Two Towers?
Yeah, The Two Towers is considered one of the greatest movies. Period.
Yeah.
That's gonna give me an excuse to watch all of them, which is great.
Yeah, those first three are really great.
Oh yeah,
and then the Hobbit trilogy is a bit of a mixed bag. But
Benedict Cumberbatch is the dragon in that.
He is the dragon in that,
and he's amazing.
And this show, I'm excited for it. I think Amazon is quickly picking up steam as a premier streaming service.
They even redid their
UI.
Yeah. About time.
Yeah,
I was having trouble scrolling through that menu.
It's becoming kind of a premier kind of streaming service in terms of original content. We're going to talk about The Boys a little later this week, I think, and then you have Invincible, and then you have this. You have this Lord of the Rings show. You have God of War, which is coming to Amazon Prime.
Still don't know who's playing Kratos.
Still don't know. And so obviously a lot of money is put into the show.
Well, I mean, you gotta it's one of the places to spend money. I thought about it. I'm like, where is Amazon getting all this money? And then I said Amazon again. I was like, oh yeah, I almost forgot.
Yeah, so I'm excited for this. Everything I see from it just makes me more excited. It's going to be real interesting how this stacks up with the Game of Thrones show that's coming out next month.
And I think Disney Plus is a good benchmark to kind of think about the thought process because it is, like you said, you have to stack up against there being just movies and now you're doing a TV show.
Well, yeah, and even at the time when Lord of the Rings was out, it wasn't competing with anything else as far as the genre.
Yeah.
But now it's competing. I don't think it's directly competing with House of the Dragon.
No, I think people separate them pretty well.
And then, I mean, you have The Witcher also, which is kind of like a sword and sorcery kind of deal. So
right, but I think
interesting.
Yeah, I think Henry Cavill kind of separate. That's like your fun uncle, almost.
So it's gonna be interesting, to see how people perceive a Lord of the Rings proproperty in 2022.
Yeah, we're gonna see if it has the same,
gravitas.
Yep, we're gonna and. We talked about before we lead this part. Like we talked about Avatar a little bit. Like Avatar, I think without a doubt I think it's cracking 1 billion. I think that movie's going to be the biggest deal when it comes out. Lord of the Rings might have a little bit of an uphill battle to play because we're so tuned to these Marvel movies now. These the superhero, Lord of the Rings was coming out where the superhero genre was corny. Now it's the thing that people go to watch. So we're going to see if it can battle with this.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Speaking of God of War and speaking of video games, so Nintendo has officially thrown its hat in the movie making ring.
Now, when we talked about our Smash Bros. Movie, did we record that?
Yeah, that's in one of the... I don't remember which episode that's in.
I think it's at the end of something.
It's definitely at the end of something.
Yeah.
I just don't remember which one it is. But yeah, so Nintendo's officially launching its own movie production studio, Nintendo Pictures, and assumedly the Super Mario Brothers movie is going to be the first movie under this banner, I would assume. And then we'll see what else they do. I mean, they got quite a bag to select from.
Oh, yeah. You know what I was weirdly thinking about? You know what game I was obsessed with? Super Mario Galaxy, right? So what if they do, listen, it's Interstellar, but Mario.
So Lightyear.
Yeah, nope. But there's powers and different levels and stuff. It'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Have Steven Spielberg do what he did on Ready Player One. You hear about these rumors that Steven Spielberg's directing the Fantastic Four? I had one of the most genuine laughs of my life when I read that. I was like, do you think that Steven Spielberg would just hop into the MCU and direct a movie?
That would be nuts.
It would be. I mean, if he was to do something, it probably would be something like that.
Morbius 2.
Why are you like this? 2 BS. Because that movie is BS. Except for Matt Smith.
Matt Smith is so... Get that guy in something good, please. But yeah, Nintendo Pictures. Obviously, you have Pokemon. You have... I think they are doing something with Legend of Zelda on Netflix. I don't know where I heard that, but I thought that was a thing that was happening.
Is it live action, or...?
I think so. And then I don't know what else they could be cooking up. If this doesn't end in a Smash Brothers movie, I'd shut the whole studio down. Because what are you doing otherwise?
It's gonna be a better crossover than Endgame.
Wait till we get the Mario v Sonic Olympic Games crossover.
Oh my goodness.
Crossover movie.
Man, I logged some hours on that game on the Wii.
With how good the Sonic movie did?
Oh
Man,
my gosh.
Cross that over with Mario.
With Chris Pratt's Mario?
Yes. I forgot about Chris Pratt being Mario. And he's Garfield.
What does he do? Is he just the animation king now?
What has he done in animation besides the Lego movie?
I mean, the Lego movie's pretty great.
Well, yeah. But is it great because of him?
No. It's great because of Will Ferrell.
What's that Mario thing gonna look like?
I don't know, man.
Is he gonna do an accent?
Nah, he couldn't. He'd get canceled. He can't do an accent. Who's gonna play Luigi? Wait,
they have a cast.
Yeah.
There's a cast for this.
Isn't it? Yeah, let's see the cast.
Let's see the cast
How did we get here? We were talking about something completely different.
No, we were talking about Mario Studios.
Oh, yeah.
Not Mario Studios.
You know what? Name it Mario Studios. It's much funnier that way.
Bob... Nope.
Billy Bob Thornton.
Nope.
As Luigi.
Is that true?
Nope. Nope. That would be way too funny.
It typed in Super Mario Brothers cast and they gave me the 1993 one.
Oh my god.
Charlie Day.
Yeah, Charlie Day.
Anya Taylor-Joy is Princess Peach,
which is probably the best casting amongst this whole thing.
Is this real?
This is
a
real
cast?
Yeah, this is a real cast. I just
Holy
needed
smokes.
my memory jogged. Is this cast competing with Barbie?
Seth Rogen is Donkey Kong? Jack Black is Bowser?
Alright, this movie might compete with Oppenheimer in terms of cast.
Keegan-Michael Key is Toad?
Wait a second.
Fred Armisen is Cranky Kong? What is this cast?
This cast is phenomenal.
See what you can do, Nintendo? Now you just gotta do Smash Bros.
Yeah.
Alright, we gotta move on.
Yeah, we
spent
do.
way too much time talking about Nintendo.
We talked too much about the Barney reboot and about Nintendo.
Peter Dinklage has signed on to the cast of the Hunger Games prequel Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I don't remember what his character name is.
I think he's like I know he's like playing the head, like the headmaster at a school or an academy.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. Don't know anything about this or what it'll look like. I read those books ages ago.
Well, this book
just
came out.
Yeah,
this book is recent.
All we know is Snoke's not a great guy. But maybe he met a woman that
Did you say Snoke?
Did I say Snoke? Who am I talking about? I'm not talking
Snow.
That's what I said. Snow.
Yeah,
Where did he get all the Star Destroyers from?
Tom Blythe is playing the young Snow. Rachel Zegler is playing the lead kind of tribute. So
isn't it like the first annual Hunger Games?
Something like that. Yeah, it's like the story leading up to the first one.
The revolt.
Yeah.
You guys decided to revolt. Now we're gonna kill all the kids.
And the director who directed the last 3 ones is coming back for this one. So he did Catching Fire and he did Mockingjay Part 1 and Part 2.
Catching Fire is a good movie.
Catching Fire is great.
That movie
still holds up.
Oh man, that movie is good stuff.
I enjoy that movie a lot. So, I mean, good. Peter Dinklage is good in things.
Imagine, like, being in the Hunger Games, and then they call you the next year, like, you're going back. You're like, oh, you know how much trauma I faced? Now I gotta go back.
That's the worst one.
It's the worst one. I'm playing the champs.
75th anniversary, and all your favorites are back.
Should they have Steve Harvey host it, if they're gonna do it? Because it's like Celebrity Family Feud, just Hunger Games.
Katniss Everdeen is back. That old woman is back.
That old woman's back. Jeffrey Wright's back. Everybody loves Jeffrey Wright. Jeffrey Wright's back, but specifically as the Watcher. I always got a spit take out of you.
I've seen every Hunger Games, everything that will happen. But this. What the hell is this?
He's gonna be in the movies, right?
Yeah. The MCU?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Big head?
Big head Jeffrey Wright?
Big head, wide eyes?
Yeah. Shout out Jeffrey Wright. We loved you in French Dispatch. I'm just going to start naming Jeffrey Wright. I did this before. I got to do it again for Jeffrey Wright.
And,
I did it for Ethan Hawke. That was it. Ethan Hawke from Dead Poets Society, Ethan Hawke.
Hunger Games.
Hunger Games.
I mean, I'm going to watch it.
Oh, yeah. I was too big of a Hunger Games fan not to watch this.
Yeah. Where am I going next?
I don't know.
Adam Scott.
You didn't think we had Madam Web news. Look at us.
Yeah, so Adam Scott has joined this very interesting cast.
This very interesting movie.
This very interesting movie that has now been pushed back to October 6th.
Dang it.
2023.
Why did they have to do this to me?
So we don't know who he's playing. We don't know who anybody in this movie is playing.
We just know that, Dakota Johnson's playing Madam Web.
Yeah.
Are they going to do a Barbie thing where they're all playing Madam Web? Just different versions of Madam Web?
Could be.
What if I'm right? That would be crazy.
Could be. Who knows?
Is Venom going to be in this movie?
Who?
Is Venom going to be in this movie?
the shining star of the Sony Spider-Man universe?
Don't disrespect Jared Leto's Morbius like that. Don't disrespect Matt Smith like that. That was the golden child of this.
Didn't you know that Sony saved cinema with Venom?
Oh, I didn't. Oh, man, I was trying to get through this without you bringing it up. Go ahead.
So, we talked a while back about Sony's just unbridled confidence in itself and its Spider-Man films when they moved the Venom release date up. They're like, yeah, we got a hit here. So they were like, I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but it's along the lines of like, we took a chance putting Venom out in cinemas, and look at us, we saved cinema because we released Venom 2, and then just the audacity to be like, and then we followed up with Spider-Man No Way Home.
I love it.
I mean, technically, you're not wrong. They did put out Spider-Man No Way Home. That is technically a Sony movie.
That's a technicality.
So yeah, they're like, you're welcome, Top Gun, basically, because Venom 2 blazed the trail to saving cinema.
Are they just going to do this for every other movie that makes $1 billion from now on?
Hopefully. Yeah. I would.
It started with us.
So Adam Scott's in Madam Web. Good.
He's playing Peter Parker.
He's also playing Madam Web.
He's also playing... I'm telling you, it'd be great. Just have him play Madam...
Him and Alden Ehrenreich.
Yeah, Mr. Webb.
No, just Madam Web.
They're all Madam Web.
Yeah, and Alden Ehrenreich is Ironheart.
Yeah. What a movie.
According to IMDb.
Yeah.
That's all I got for that. I guess we could talk about Ms. Marvel now.
Yeah, I think it's time.
So Ms. Marvel has come out and finished, because this is the end of the season that we're talking about this, because came out, it was 6 episodes, right? 6-episode little miniseries. Yep. This is becoming the staple.
Which many people aren't happy about. We'll probably get into that.
Yeah, because I think this show does it the best out of any of the shows that have come before it.
I do have the counter for you on that, but I do agree it's in the top 2 of doing this well.
It's in the top 2.
It's in the top 2 of 6.
So how many things has come out?
We're on our 6th...
Like, just in this group?
We're on our 6th live-action show. We're on our 12th project in Phase 4.
It's a lot, man.
It is a lot.
It's a lot of content. It's a lot. But this one came out, and I would say, kind of an underwhelming amount of hype and, like, general...
Agreed.
Like, fanfare.
Agreed. And the argument that people were trying to make is they have no relation to Miss Marvel. And my first question is, were you just the coolest kid at school when you were in high school?
Yeah. So, and I mean, to be fair, this also is not a character compared to... I guess the only other comparable one in terms of, like, stature would be Moon Knight, in terms of, like, notoriety, compared to, like, Loki and Hawkeye and WandaVision.
The only thing she has is, like, in modern comics, Miss Marvel got super popular, because she gave and this show does it really well, she gave a voice to a group of people that really weren't represented in comics at all.
No. Certainly not in a positive way.
No. Looking at you, Iron Man.
Yeah, for real. And, I mean, I guess the biggest kind of mainstream appeal the character of Kamala Khan has gotten was through the Marvel's Avengers game. Mm-hmm. And I mean,
G. Wilson's run on Miss Marvel was, like, groundbreaking. Like, it was legendary when it started coming out. But, like you said, I agree. For, like, the general population, it was probably the Avengers game.
And as I maintain, that's the best part.
Oh, she's by far the best part of that game. Everything else is just horrible.
Yeah, the story of that game is kind of told through her point of view, and I think it's a really smart decision, and I think that's a genuinely good part of that game.
Yeah, imagine if they didn't do that. That game would be absolutely untouchable. Like, you couldn't play that game.
Imagine if that game was just a regular game.
Why didn't they make that game
wasn't a game of service game, and it was just a regular game?
Why didn't they make that game more like Guardians of the Galaxy?
Who knows? Who's to say?
Could have done so much stuff, so many good Easter eggs, but who's to say?
And then I guess the biggest exposure that this show, as far as like eyeballs, is everybody knew that this character was going to show up in the Marvels, which is the Captain Marvel sequel, and she was like the third piece of the puzzle. Right. So it was Brie Larson as Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel. You have
Tiana Prince.
Yep, as what's her?
Monica Rambeau.
Yep, I knew that. But her, what's her, Photon?
Photon or Spectrum. We'll see. I think she's going to probably go by Spectrum because her mom was Photon.
Yeah, and then enter Iman Vellani as Kamala Khan. And I guess we can just start with her because, man. I didn't think anybody was going to get to Haley Steinfeld / why am I blanking on Florence Pugh's name? Florence Pugh range. I personally think she did it. She's charismatic. She's charming. She's just such a breath of fresh air. It's insane how much you kind of fall in love with her as a character. Yeah, she's right up there for me. Haley Steinfeld is a good comparison.
Mm-hmm.
Florence Pugh's a little more kind of established. Mm-hmm. Even Haley Steinfeld is. But
yeah, right.
Her, I think I was kind of looking at her through the lens of Xochitl Gomez.
Sure. I mean, if you really want to get into it, you could probably add Tom Holland to that because people didn't know who Tom Holland was before. Yeah. I mean, he was in The Impossible with Ewan McGregor.
Yeah. So I mean, her story, Iman Vellani's story, is kind of old hat at this point. She is a legitimate Marvel fan who is cast hilariously noted for not liking the Captain Marvel movie, despite being cast as Captain Marvel's biggest fan.
She's got one of the greatest videos where she's naming off all the movies in the MCU, and they were like, "You forgot a movie," and she's just like, "What movie?" She's like, "Captain Marvel," and they're like, "Ooh."
So she is sensational.
Oh yeah,
in this
really
show.
Good.
She's just electric. She's charming, which ultimately what you need in a show like this, which is a charming lead. And this has that in spades. This has one of my favorite cast as a whole compared to all the other shows.
Get Abu his own spin-off show.
I can just run through this cast real quick. So Matt Lintz plays Kamal's best friend Bruno,
who was almost Spider-Man.
We came to find out he's the guy in the chair, but he's a little more than that in this show. He's kind of like Kamala's kind of tether to the New Jersey kind of side of her life, which the show, if I can be quick, we're gonna talk about as we talk about the episodes, but the show does a really nice job of portraying Kamala in a way where she's kind of a fish out of water in every environment that she's in.
And that was a big thing about the G. Willow Wilson run, is that she was an Inhuman in that run, and we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. But she was an Inhuman in that run. She was a brown girl in New Jersey, so she didn't fit in, with the Avengers. She didn't fit in her own school. She didn't fit in her neighborhood, and she didn't fit in with her powers. It was very known that the fact that she didn't have some clean power. She had a very power that she didn't want. She had the power to stretch and shape shift a little bit, and it's not so much fun. So that was something that she had to deal with. So
and also in this show, she's in the fourth episode she goes to Pakistan.
The fourth episode she goes to Pakistan,
and she's too American to be in Pakistan, which I thought was super interesting. This show does so many interesting things that a lot of these shows and movies in the MCU haven't done to this point.
It's so intriguing because you're invested not in what possible fight scene can commence. You're truly invested in just a story of a girl. A girl that just recently got superpowers, that's a brown girl living in New Jersey, and her lineage and her family history. Yep.
You have Yasmin Fletcher as Nakia. She's great.
Yeah.
She may be my favorite side character in this entire show.
Favorite best friend.
Yeah, she kind of serves as the tether to the Muslim community.
And moreover, from my perspective too, not only just the Muslim community, but Kamala being a young girl too, that's a big part of it as well. Having to balance those two things, just being a girl in high school that has crushes and, has to get through the day and deal with woman problems, all those things,
she's kind of the one that kind of has her head on her shoulders. She's a little more mature than Kamala. She's kind of every time Kamala has a problem, Nakia is always I have a solution for this problem. I've seen it all, I've done it all, and that serves. What I like about this show is the side characters have arcs and they have their own kind of narratives. And Nakia is a great embodiment of that.
Right.
Her whole kind of thing about trying to be on the council at the mosque.
Yeah, this show's so much deeper than just, a superhero show. And it's funny, I think it was the fourth episode I had said to you, I was I'm so glad they didn't go full send, because they already were going to do it in the Marvels. They were already going to do this big superhero, because essentially the Marvels is probably going to be a cosmic epic. They didn't need all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you have Zenobia Shroff as Muniba Khan, Kamala's mother. Just, again, you're going to hear us probably talk about these characters a lot because they're so good, and her mother is such a fascinating character.
Yes, she is.
You know, it starts off as she seems like the typical kind of overbearing, kind of strict parent, and what she evolves into as the show goes on is something really compelling. Someone who may have lost touch with her roots a little bit and then rediscovers them and becomes... I love what the show does in terms of, you know, you have the classic superhero trope of what happens when everyone else finds out, right? And you think, based on how the mother is the entire time, you're like, oh, she's gonna be like, oh my god, like... She might have the most interesting arc in the show. From my argumentative sake, I think she might have the best one in the show. It's definitely the most compelling because of... You think that parents are always so one-dimensional, especially from, like, young adult stories. Well, yeah, and especially since you know, we're going to talk about Yusuf in a second.
Oh, man.
They are... You know, the first episode, even the first two episodes, kind of portray them as those young adult parent tropes. You have the cool parent, dad, yep. And then you have like the strict, overbearing mother character, and they are those characters to start with. But then the layers start getting peeled back.
There's more to them. This show makes the conscious
Especially
decision.
Her mother.
Oh yeah. Her and. Not only is her mother, you know, dynamic as a character, she's integral to the plot as well, which is a very smart decision on their end.
Yeah. And so you have her, and then you have Mohan Kapoor as Yusuf, who I just mentioned.
Very famous Bollywood actor. He also does the voice for Doctor Strange for any, I think it's all of the what's it called? All the
dubs.
Yeah, all the dubs.
Like the dubs and translations for the Marvel movies, yeah. So it was cool that they got him in, and he's fantastic.
Oh, yeah, he's father. Is he my favorite character? Is it him?
I mean, there's a lot to choose from.
Oh, he's good.
Yeah, and then you have Sagir Sheikh as Amir Khan, Kamal's older brother. Again, just another tremendous...
Yeah.
The whole family.
They're so likable. They're just... And I think it's so... imperative that they were likable because, like you just said, like how Muslim Americans are, you know, perceived.
And there's a lot of that in this show.
They don't shy away from it, and I was hoping they didn't because it's so important. It's how it needs to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's been like this, you know, as long as I can remember. You know, I mean, unfortunately, what you have coming out of the tragedy of September 11th was this serious, you know, stereotyping and persecution of Muslim Americans in this country that to this day is still happening. And this show handles that so wonderfully that, you know, it provides you such a lens to like how Muslim Americans live. You know, there's the scene when Damage Control comes into the mosque a couple times, but the finale especially, when they come in and all the people in the mosque already have their IDs out, you know, it's played for kind of like a laugh, but that's a real thing because like they're so used to being harassed by, be it government officials, be it police. They're so used to it that they're like, yep, here we are. We're, you know, we know the drill, basically. Even Nakia makes the offhanded comment to Bruno when he was like, we needed a safe place to come.
And she's just like, you came to a mosque?
You came to a mosque in America? Yeah. Like, that's the least safe place that you could come to. But, you know, behind, you know, again, it's a line that's played for a laugh, but there's an element of realism to that. And this show does not shy away from that, like you said. And I thought that's super important because that's kind of what you need in terms of, like, that's what good representation is to me, is not just making people like Kamala feel represented, but giving a lens to people who are not like Kamala, understand what people like Kamala go through.
Yeah, and it's so important that she's young on top of that. Exactly. Because it's not only that she needs to understand what this is going through, she's all, like I said earlier, she's also going through those formative years of her life on top of all of this. And then on top of that, it's a superhero show. She's also getting powered. So this whole show, one of the big themes is like, you know, your self-identity and your transformative nature and like your transformative years and kind of all those influences, and that plays into the suit at the end, which is a really good piece.
I love that.
Yeah, all these makeups, the makeups of what come before you. Yeah,
it's like one of my favorite costume kind of origins.
Yeah, you know what, they did that really well, and they did it in Shang-Chi. It's a really good narrative piece from Shang-Chi. Like, you're a makeup, as much as you might dislike your father and what he does, you are a makeup of him, so you need to take the best aspects of him. It's the same thing for Kamala.
Yeah, and I love the shifting of the lightning bolt insignia representing her and her culture.
Oh my gosh. Amazing. Amazing choice.
Just phenomenal. And then the last cast member I just kind of want to make note of was Risha as Kamran. Again, another character that when he's introduced, I think is just going to be this show works so well as a young adult show because it takes these young adult tropes that you're used to and flips them. So like Kamran is a perfect example of that. He's like the classic like dreamy kind of like person that the protagonist falls in love with, and he's like kind of like this one note character. Nope, he's actually super compelling and has a really neat kind of arc to him that you think is going to end with him becoming this villain, but ultimately is not that. And that's what the show just kept me interested the whole time. Like, it wasn't predictable, and it wasn't like, oh, I know where this is going to go, or I know who the bad guy is. You know, you talked about with me off air, like, does the show have like a villain problem? And my counter to that was the show didn't even need a villain to be good. No,
and I mean, that's my point that I thought about more over for the Marvels itself. Like, this is a prelude to the Marvels, just how WandaVision was also a surrogate prelude to the Marvels and for Tiana Prince's character. Like, it's not about her, going into these big action set pieces. It's about her discovering herself and coming into her own, as one of the big through lines of the show is, it's not every day that brown girls from Jersey save the world, until Bruno says, like, maybe they can. And she definitely will have to be by the end of the show, because boy, does it get a little interesting.
Yeah. So I guess from there we can just kind of start where the show kicks off, and it comes in the weekend blaring.
Such a smart choice. And
amazing song.
Yeah. I told you, and this is one of the big things that I thought about the pacing of this show. I will give you, because I do think that Loki's still the best show that they've done, but this show might have some of the best pacing that I've seen recently from this 6-episode format. And why it is, Kamala Khan wasn't going to be liked by some people. I mean, there's the Facebook petition to take the show down that had like 50,000 signatures. It's horrible. Like,
yeah. For one reason.
Yeah, right. So the show had an uphill battle. So how you combat that is through a filmmaking style. I want to shout out the directors of the show. They did an incredible job.
And you have Adil and Bilal, who directed the first episode and the 6th episode. So they bookend the first and 6th episode quite nicely. But go ahead.
Their style, it's fast paced. It's colorful. I think they were going as far to use like anamorphic lenses. So if I'm to get nerdy for a second, anamorphic lenses, it's like the center of the image will be super sharp, but they use it on the Batman. The outsides of the image, like the left and right, they're going to be more out of focus than like a normal spherical lens. The other thing for that, you're going to get a lot of lens flares from that. So what better character to have lens flares than from Kamala Khan and her power set in this show? It's just, the show's edited fast. The comedic timing is great. It feels like a young adult movie. Like, it was giving me like Edge of 17 vibes. Like, it's just the way they edit this together, and it's like that Scott Pilgrim meets Edge of 17 meets a superhero show is so smart. And you're just buying in because you're just enthralled with all like this, nostalgic almost emotion for like your childhood and like your high school days. It's like, it's a show that people can kind of cling on to. What gets me very excited is that they kind of once they get to episodes 3, 4, and 5, they understand, all right, now we have the people in their seats. Now we can really get into our meat and potatoes of the story. Yeah,
this first episode opens fast. It opens with a hilarious rendition of the events of Avengers Endgame.
Right. Yeah, so talking about Kamala Khan herself, talk about the actual show itself. She's an Avengers stan. She loves superhero.
Moreover.
Yeah, she's Captain Marvel specifically is her idol. It's her hero. And if you like the idea that everybody knows who the Avengers are in this world, it plays really well because she's like, Carol Danvers is like, she's the hero of the story. It's like, from her perspective, she's the hero, just like there's some people that think maybe Ant-Man's the hero. Probably the majority of the world thinks Iron Man's the hero. Like, all these different, like, some people probably think Thor's the hero, Captain America's the hero, but for her, it's Captain Marvel is the one. So yeah, she's, I love how the background of this, she's doing this just to get ready for a driving test, and then it's so, like, lovable Disney Channel-esque way to go about it, and some people were like complaining. I'm like, no, that's working. It's working. That the fact that they did it.
Yeah, this is the vibe. This is what the show need. This is the vibe that show needed to have. I think it's hilarious that at a time where we're like, all the Marvel properties are all the same. You get this, which is so different from anything that we've gotten. I mean, we talked about Spider-Man Homecoming being kind of like the young adult movie and property of the MCU. This is even more so. Yeah. Because Spider-Man Homecoming had that backdrop of still being a superhero movie. And, Iron Man, and there's big action set pieces, and fighting the Vulture and all this other stuff. This, the villain stuff doesn't really ramp up until like the fourth episode is when it really gets going with like antagonists.
Right. It just relies on herself to kind of discover herself, which is important. It gives itself time to breathe when you do that, and I definitely do have to agree with the villain point. The show didn't need a villain. It didn't need some big bad to come and swoop down and be like Ethan Hawke from Moon Knight, or you didn't need an Agatha Harkness from WandaVision. You didn't need all that,
because the big bad ultimately goes back to the representation piece. The big bad is the persecution that Kamala's people have faced, not just in the past, because they do lean into the partition, but also in the present as being a Muslim American. Like, that's why damage control is they're like the stand-in for Homeland Security, essentially, is what this purpose serves as, of introducing damage control, as because you think as the show goes on that the clandestines are gonna be the typical supervillain kind of counter to the superhero, right? But then the clandestines are dealt with, and it just comes back to the community versus damage control. Harkening back to original Spider-Man.
I was thinking the same thing. You mess with one of us, you mess with all of us.
But this, I think, does it in a more real way.
Yeah, it does. Like, all these people would go to... This is their town's hero. And it shows you how lived in the MCU is. I think I talked about it during Peacemaker, funny enough, because Peacemaker also does a good job of understanding that this world is lived in. So, like, there will just be normal people that just train themselves to, like, the brink just so they can be, superheroes for their own selves. Like, this is Marvel's way of understanding, hey, these heroes can now live anywhere and be anybody.
Yeah.
And that driving test absolutely kills me every single time.
Because so many people relate to that. I relate to it. I failed my driving test.
Me too. Failed my first one too. It's so good. It's just so much good subversion of expectation. Like, you think it can open on, like, let's just take Thor Love and Thunder, the opening. Like, we're getting the gore set up and he kills a god to start. Like, she's just taking a driving test and she just backs right into the teacher's car. But it's the filmmaking, it's the editing, and it's herself. It's her comedic timing and her presence that make this all just so lovable and just so fun to watch.
So the hook of the first episode is she wants to go to Avenger Con. Who doesn't?
Avenger Con looks absolutely amazing.
Turns out it's kind of haphazard. Like, ultimately, when you see what Avenger Con is, it's like in a warehouse, and like it's like.
Well, I mean,
it's cool though.
Yeah, well, Avenger Con's at Camp Lehigh, where Captain America famously, I mean, he got his powers in New York, but that's where he trained for most of the part. Yeah. So yeah, it's like an homage. I mean, this is off the back of Avengers. I think there's some time passed in between, but it is off the back of Avengers Endgame.
Yeah, so she wants to go to AvengerCon. Bruno is helping her make a Captain Marvel suit because she's gonna compete in a Captain Marvel cosplay competition for, like, all the heroes have, like, their own, like, there's a Captain America one, there's like an Iron Man one, presumably, yada yada. And so she gets a package of items from her grandmother, and one of which is a mysterious golden bangle.
Right. So she wants to add a little. I think the whole competition is like, you need your own little flourish to the costume, which is previously come by in a great sequence where they're kind of coming home from school, or they're coming home from Bruno's shop, which he runs, and they're kept, like, the editing is just it's so Scott Pilgrim, it's so vibrant. I love how the text is on screen. They kind of do all the animation, like, in universe. It's great. Yep. It just brings you into her mind. But yeah.
And her mom's like, don't worry about the bangle. The bangle sucks.
Don't open the book, don't open the Darkhold.
Don't open the box.
Yeah, don't open
What's
the
in the box?
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And also, you can't go to AvengerCon.
Yeah.
So.
Right. And this is what you talk about, you know, so many people related to her mother in this situation. I just was so, like, it was just so refreshing to see, like, no, that's exactly how this would be handled. Like, it wouldn't be like an Aunt May situation, just like, I know I said no earlier, Peter, but no, like, if you're not going with your father, like,
right, because that's the compromise they come to. Like, you can go, but we got you matching outfits with your dad
as the Hulk.
And he comes Yusuf, who, like, is all excited.
Oh my gosh, I love Yusuf. He's the man.
And Kamala's just like, oh my god, no. Absolutely. And, like, you feel bad for, like, her dad.
You do. He just sits there just like, you're not going. And, like, you gotta think, like, hey, I finally get to share something with you, but now you don't want me there.
My heart broke.
Yeah, it did. But it's good. It's like, that's that young adult, like, they're not just straight up the heroes. This is like, we all probably did things that our parents found super, you know, unreasonable and annoying because we just wanted to, you know, live our lives. But it's so relatable, man.
So in typical fashion, typical young adult story fashion, she sneaks out. She concocts this whole plan with Bruno.
Oh, it's so good the way they do it.
About how they're gonna sneak out and they're gonna jump their bikes off a bridge and land right in time to get the last bus. She takes the costume, she takes the bangle with her, and they're off. And the plan does not go at all.
But
how they wanted it
before
to.
that, which is so good. Two things. One thing is, like, the way they go about it. Like, they do the movie / TV show thing of showing you the plan going perfectly, and, like, just her way of, like, I love at the end where, like, she's got everything written on the chalkboard, and Bruno's like, so your plan's to take the bus? She's just like, this is what you got out of all of this? Look at this chalkboard.
Yeah, so the plan goes horrendously for them.
The other big thing that came before this was her meeting with the guidance counselor, because that sets her on her personal journey. Like, he pulls the quote from Milan, like, you gotta look at yourself in a mirror, and, like, you gotta ask yourself, like, who is Kamala Khan? And it's just, that's the theme. It's genius. Like, it's so simple. They set up the theme in the first episode, because you don't really need to set up the villains too much in the first episode, but that theme needs to stick through of what the show is about.
Yeah. So she got the bangle, she got the costume, she gets to AvengerCon. It's just this hilariously set up kind of thing.
Oh, it's cool.
Scott Lang has a podcast.
Scott Lang does have... We're all Scott Lang.
We're all Scott Lang in our own minds.
Yes.
Bruno makes her these cool photon gloves that, you know, we're going to glow. She forgets them.
They share a moment.
They share a little bit of a moment. She forgets the gloves in the bathroom. She puts the bangle on, and she gets on stage, and then Zoe is there, who you think, again, is going to be this typical mean girl trope. Nope, she's not that. No, she actually has, like, what I thought was pretty cool. She's got, like, the 80s Captain, or 80s Miss Marvel suit, which is pretty cool. It's a nice little homage. She gets in danger, and Kamala, you know, decides, I have to do something, and then powers activate.
Shut up, nerds, it's not the stretchy powers. Yeah.
She has her first hero moment, inadvertently. The bangle activates, she gets these glowing light powers that enable her to do a little bit of the Miss Marvel stretchy powers, a little bit, and she saves Zoe, and then hilarity ensues, and she's obviously can't control her powers, so she's knocking stuff down, but ultimately does save Zoe, and they're like, we gotta go. We gotta get out of here. And she gets home, and her mother is like, what?
It's disappointment.
So disappointed.
One other thing that I wanted to cover about that AvengerCon sequence, when she gets her power, it's when she kind of teleports into the other realm. That was probably the biggest Easter egg from this whole thing, was that, where the heck did she go? Because a lot of people were saying negative zone. We do find out where it technically was, but it just was super interesting. The theories were running off the rails. But regardless, her mother's super disappointed, and understandably so. It's really, it is sad to see her. She's, like, breaking her mother's heart, and this is where you think her mother's just this cold, heartless person.
Doesn't understand.
Yeah, but it's not that simple.
It's not that simple. And then we get a little mid-credit scene at the end that establishes Damage Control as kind of the antagonists of the show, where they're like, there's a new soup in New Jersey.
Don't say soup. You're gonna trigger Homelander. I'll do it.
There's a new soup in New Jersey, and we need to look into this.
Mm-hmm.
And then we segue into episode 2, which is the classic training montage.
Yeah, I do love the opening of episode 2 because she's just got all the confidence in the world. It's like, they replay the opening of episode 1, but she's just walking through the hallways, just like queen of the world, just like on top of everything.
Yeah.
Like, she corrects the teacher that gets her name wrong. She's like, she stops from getting hit in the face with the basketball. Like, she splits up the 2 people that are in front of the light. It's great. It's like...
But that's not her reality.
No, right.
But it's just in her own mind. And Bruno's like, being the smart, quote-unquote, character in this. He's like, your Bengal has given you superpowers. Basically. I don't know how, but that's what's going on. And they're training. Is this the episode where they do the hilarious bit on the roof where she's like, you gotta let me go?
Yes. Oh my god, it's good.
And then she drops like a foot.
Mm-hmm. They do the exact same framing from Avengers End. How could they do this to us?
I don't know, but it was hilarious.
It was hilarious.
They end up at a party with Nakia. Nakia's there, and they meet Kamran. Mm-hmm. Kamran enters the fold.
Oh no, he's so dreamy.
Oh no, he's so handsome.
Oh crap!
And he's got an accent. He's got a
British accent. Oh no, he's the jack of all trades. Bruno said as he angrily stormed away.
Yeah, Bruno's a little jealous of Kamran, especially because Kamala blows off superhero training to hang out with him. And then she runs into her brother, and she's like, "You don't remember our cousin?"
Yep.
And Amir's like, yes, of course I do.
Yeah.
He's like, but why are you British?
Yeah, because I keep watching the Great British Bake Off.
I love Amir.
Yeah.
He's really, really funny. And then, so she sees this mysterious woman in a vision. Mm-hmm. Intrigue. The show does a good job of intrigue.
Yeah, plot thickens. It's intrigue for stuff you don't know, because a lot of the Marvel lore, like, you'll probably get a sense of what could be happening. This one, I genuinely didn't know what the direction was for a little bit, and it wasn't a bad way. I didn't know the direction. It was like let's see what happens next week. It keeps bringing you back week after week.
She asks her mom, she asks the other, what are they called?
The Illuminati's. Hilarious timing. Big thing from that training sequence too. It's the first little tease. Bruno says, "Hey, Kamala, you know how you got these cool new powers from that bangle? What if I told you that the bangle just unlocked those powers?"
But what does that mean?
Find out next week on... I can't say yet.
So she's asking about her great-grandmother, and her mother is basically like, your great-grandmother's a quack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She says,
well, your grandmother is, but your great grandmother. We don't talk about your great grandmother.
We don't talk about Bruno.
we don't talk about Aisha here.
Yeah.
Something happened with Aisha that nobody wants to seem to talk about, and you're like, ooh.
But all like the aunties know the story. Like there's like rumors spread about Aisha the whole time. It's just
she's like this horrible person, basically
killed a man off with another family, like all those things.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about this, but her father, on the other hand, is a bit more forthcoming about her grandmother. So he talks about how her grandmother lost her way in the partition in India, and somehow, some way, made it onto that last train
from a trail of stars,
and nobody knows what happened. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, back at Damage Control, Zoe's been taken in by Damage Control, by the red-haired woman
the red-haired guy, and then the guy from Spider-Man No Way Home's back, and he's doing the same thing.
That guy needs a new job.
He does need a new job.
Fire that man.
Yeah, maybe he should be an actor or something.
So they're like, hey, that person tried to kill you. And Zoe's like, what?
Huh? No.
That's not what happened. So the Damage Control woman, I don't know. Does she ever get a name?
Who knows?
Do we ever name this woman? She's awful.
Yeah, she is awful.
So she's like, sweep the area, focus on the Muslim communities. And I'm like, what do you mean by that? Again, this is the stand-in. They're the stand-in for the Homeland Security. Like target the Muslim communities, because we know that this girl is a brown girl from the area,
from Jersey,
and she's behind this. She's a terrorist.
She's got to be behind this.
She's a terrorist. So now we're at an Eid al-Adha celebration, and a young boy falls from a balcony.
Oh no!
They say
this felt very Spider-Man 1 for me for some reason. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
I just don't know. Yeah, It's because there's people around. I think it's because New Jersey has its own life in this show.
Yeah,
Jersey City
especially
has
this
its own
little
life.
sect of New Jersey, which is like the Muslim community all basically banding together in this one little neighborhood and community. And a boy slips from I don't know why he's up there, first of all.
He was filming a TikTok. He's doing his TikTok
Social
thing.
media plays an important role in this show.
Gosh, it saves the day.
And she's like, all right, big time, hero moment, here I come. She's got her little haphazard Captain Marvel costume, and she's using... So this is one of the big kind of detractions from her typical powers. She creates these platforms of light that she can use to traverse, and she's using those. She's doing all right. She's like, I'm going to save you. She's having a fun little banter with the kid who's possibly going to fall to his death. He's like, you're the worst superhero ever. What are you talking about? And she saves him, and then she doesn't save him. She goofs. She
does goof. Classic hijinks and messing up your first mission.
She's like grandstanding. She's like, yes, I did it. And then the light platform breaks, the kid falls, breaks his leg or his ankle.
Arm, I think, or his something. He broke something.
But he's fine.
He's fine.
He's not dead.
He's the shoe thief. He's the shoe thief from the mosque, we find out.
And then wouldn't you know...
Should she have saved him? Question mark?
The Punisher wouldn't have saved him.
No, he wouldn't. The Punisher would have just went into his dialogue from Daredevil season 2, episode 4. I think the world needs men like this to be put down. You go to the mosque and they get back up. I go there and they stay down. Said the Punisher. Said the Punisher. To the shoe thief specifically. Easy. Maybe cut that part out. I meant the shoe thief specifically.
And then Damage Control shows up.
Yep.
They're like, she tried to kill that boy. Get her.
So they send the drones from Spider-Man Far From Home after.
The drones are back.
Yeah, the drones are back.
Royalties for the drones?
Somehow the drones returned.
Somehow the drones returned.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
So she's fleeing Damage Control, and when you know it, who comes speeding in a fast car?
Kamran.
Intrigue, more intrigue.
Yeah. Right, go ahead.
No, this show does such a phenomenal job of bookending their episodes that makes you want to see the next one.
Right.
Like at the end of episode 1, it's that mid-credits singer with Damage Control. Episode 2, it's Kamran who saves Kamala, and then he's like, hello, Kamala, I'm way more interesting than you probably first thought. And here's my mom.
Right.
And then the episode ends.
Well, to preface that, before, when she's saving the kid, one of the things that kind of throws her off is she sees a vision of a woman, like you said earlier. This is the second time she's seen her, and she thinks that's Aisha that everybody's been talking about. And I did too, because then it got real weird, because he said, here's their mom, and lo and behold, who was it? The woman from the dream sequences.
Yeah, it's Kamran's mom. And
who
then
she also thinks could now Kamran and her related. Turn real Star Wars real quick.
So we segue into that. Segues perfectly in episode 3 because episode 2 usually leads to episode 3, and so Kamran's mom is like, we're part of a group, a crew, if you will. Hello, this is my crew.
We're the clandestine.
This is me familia. To borrow.
Vin Diesel proceeds to walk in.
Yeah, we're the clandestines. We come from... We're jinns.
Right, well, that's a big thing, because jinn are supposed to be evil to them. And
I've seen Supernatural.
And it's even to the point where I think Yusuf says it in the first episode where he's dealing with, Bruno's knockoff Amazon Alexa that he made for him. He calls it like the evil jinn have possessed them. Like, so they're like seen to most people as like this evil force.
And they were exiled from the Noor dimension.
The Noor dimension. I'll talk about that when we get into Easter eggs at the end, because I'm feeling a slight Shang-Chi relation.
And by the way, Kamala, your great grandmother Aisha was a jinn, and she was also from the Noor dimension.
And you're a jinn.
Congratulations.
Yeah, you're not all human.
And she's like, that bangle you got there can get us home.
Yeah, but guess what? There's 2 of them.
Yes.
Now there are 2 of them.
And Kamala's like, yes, I'm in. I'm absolutely in, because I'm an impressionable 16-year-old girl. And of course, I'm going to help you if you know who my great-grandmother was. And Bruno's like, whoa.
Maybe you shouldn't do that.
Pump the brakes. He's like, let me do some research, let me get these things together and see if the story checks out.
Right.
So,
a big thing that happened earlier in the episode too was you go back to the apartheid era and you see them all kind of searching through these things, and lo and behold, guess what they see? This room was like the Easter egg room, because not only did they pull the bangle off, which I'm going to get into at the end when we talk about all the big stuff, but they pulled the bangle off in an arm, a Kree arm, in a 10 Rings facility. They said, you guys like Easter eggs? Boy, do I got some Easter eggs for you.
Yeah. So Kamala's like, Kamran, give me a bit. I'm going to look into that we can do this safely. We need to be able to do this safely. And Kamran's like, okay, I'll go talk to my mom. And his mom is like, absolutely not. We're going to force Kamala to help us by any means necessary. And you're like, I'm beginning to think these clandestines aren't as good as they say they are.
Bad people? Question mark?
Then we have a wedding. Great wedding. Great wedding sequence.
Oh my gosh.
So much fun. And then here comes Kamran crashing the wedding, being like, Kamala, my mom's coming after you with her clandestine friends. And
Cue Bon Jovi.
Here they come. The clandestines are here. They're like, you're going to give us that bangle one way or the other. And then, so they get overpowered. It looks like it's curtains for the good guys. And there's a big vision of a train.
Who thought a train would be more integral than the Infinity Stones?
And you're like, what was that about?
Train? Is that like a locomotive?
And then damage control shows up again.
That pesky damage control.
And they arrest the clandestines, including Kamran, and then Nakia is there, and she sees Kamala use her powers, because up until this point, only Bruno knows that Kamala has powers, and Nakia's like, oh, you didn't tell me?
I hate
and
you.
And she plays that role. Not for
long.
And then that's kind of never spoken about until they see each other again.
Until the last episode, basically.
Yeah. And then Kamala's grandmother pipes up, gives her a call, and she's like, did you see the train?
You see the magical train?
Kamala's like, what?
How do you know about this?
How do you know?
Who showed you this power?
How do you know about the magical train from all the way in Pakistan? And then Kamal's grandmother's like, you need to come here to Karachi in Pakistan. Bring your mom.
Yeah, bring mom. Bring the whole family.
Bring my daughter, please, if you will.
We gotta speak. We gotta
so
talk.
We're going on a field trip for episode 4.
We're in Pakistan.
And again, this is what I really liked about this show, is that it embeds you in the culture, but also shows you that Kamala is a bit of an outsider, even in her own culture. She has her like comical cousins that are like, oh my God, you're wearing pants?
Yeah, you're not Pakistani enough, you're not American enough, it doesn't matter where she is.
You're wearing jeans?
Yeah.
So they get to Karachi and she's like, they meet her grandmother. Her grandmother's great.
Oh, she's so hilarious.
She's like, yeah.
She's so eccentric.
They're like, what are you been
She's
doing?
like rich. Like, I don't, yeah.
Oh, great place.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing place. She's like, I've been out partying all night.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. She's like, Nani, should you be up? Stop asking dumb questions.
Stop.
The party capital of the world here.
Yeah. So she reveals to Kamala that the bangle showed you that.
Oh, they have such a sweet scene. Such a sweet scene where she's showing her a picture of, or like just a painting basically of Aisha. Oh, it's so good.
So they go on a little field trip. Kamala's like, I need to go see that train station. And then a masked man appears. Surprise.
So Kamala, last episode at the end, gets her first piece of her costume. She gets her mask from Bruno, because Bruno thinks so highly of Kamala, and he knows that she could be a hero.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's at the train station. Red Dagger appears. He's like, hey, I was in a comic before.
Surprise.
Yeah, surprise.
I'm here so you can do your research about who I am.
Yeah, we're going to fight for a bit, and then we're going to be mates.
Yep, that's basically what happens, and he's like, come to my secret hideout and meet my Mr. Miyagi character.
He might be my favorite character of the whole show. Waleed. Justice for Waleed.
Don't get used to him.
No. How could they do this to Waleed?
Because he's not even making it out of this episode.
Is Waleed the same character as he's basically like Erskine, and he's almost like from Iron Man 1. Why am I blanking on his name?
Shoot.
We'll remember.
I'll look it up.
While all this is happening, guess prison break time. The clandestines break out of prison because damage control security.
Jensen.
Yeah, Jensen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember when he dubbed Jensen in Iron Man 3? They made Guy Pearce the villain.
And then, so Waleed is like, hello, Kamal, I'm here to lay some exposition on you and then die, so.
I can't believe they did that to Waleed. I love Waleed.
And Waleed is like, yeah, so the clandestines are not great.
Yeah, they're not great people. They just want to blow up the world to get home.
Typical. Typical villains.
God, can you just not keep the world? So basically, the whole, I guess, dimension theory, it's like it's stacked on one another. So if they were to tear a hole to kind of, get their world to come back, it would completely just obliterate the entirety of the universe.
Dang
so,
it.
maybe they shouldn't. And Kamala's like, maybe we shouldn't let that happen.
Yeah,
She's like, is there a safe way to do this? He's like, no.
No. Don't you think they know that?
Yeah, they don't care about us.
Yeah, they don't care about us. They don't care about you.
I got a cool little just thing I'm thinking about because that it's like that's like the whole Jonathan Hickman Secret Wars, which I think the MCU is headed to in the new phase, which I think we're gonna find out about on Saturday. That's the whole idea of like it's whose world are you choosing? Like that's the only thing in my head that like can make me feel for the Nor just a little bit. It's like you got to choose between the two worlds, your own world and the world you don't know their people. They might look like the people you know, but that's not them. Like,
yeah, and as we're going to come to find out in the next episode when we get Aisha's backstory, is that was the decision that she ultimately ends up making, right. Is the difference between her people and the people that she came to love on Earth. Mm-hmm. So yeah, like you mentioned, the clandestines break free from damage control, and you would think that a loving mother would take her son with her. Nah. Still waters run deep.
Nope.
You betrayed me. You can stay locked up, Kamran.
Right.
We're gonna go get Kamala, and hilariously, they just.
You beat me to it. I was gonna say, just comically arrived in Pakistan. I don't know how they did it. They were just there. It didn't even feel like time passed. They were just there.
So they have Kamala's training with the Red Daggers in the meantime, and getting a little bit more. He gives her something, right?
Yeah, now he gives her the sash.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I like this. I like how this is like a video game.
Yep.
Like you're getting little bits and pieces to the final garment, the final armor. Mm-hmm. So yeah, she's training more, and then the clandestines arrive. We get a really extended action chase sequence here between the clandestines and the Red Daggers and Kamala, which I quite liked.
Oh yeah.
I like this action sequence a lot.
Yeah, played Pakistan really well as a background and a backdrop for it. It's really, really well done. A lot of fun. Maybe we should just have more fun. Is that too much to ask for?
This show has got fun in spades. It's
got fun, it's got comedy, but boy, once we hit episode 5, does it have drama?
Yeah.
Does it have drama?
The clandestines one clandestine gets killed by Waleed, and then Najimi's like, I see your kill, and I raise you your own death. So Waleed is killed. Grand opening, grand closing for Waleed, and then we're fighting the clandestines, and Kareem kills one of them, and then big showdown between Kamran's mother and Kamala, and she stabs the bangle, and then whoa!
When I tell you, there was no amount of betting money that could have prepared me for what was going to happen when that happened.
And Kamala gets sent through something and awakens in 1942 India during the height of the partition. And that's where the episode ends. And you're like, what? That's what I mean. And that's what I mean about this show ending its episodes at the perfect time, especially for a show that's weekly and not one into the next. Because you're like, what do you mean that's the end? What do you mean?
And to some people's least favorite episode, this possibly might be my favorite episode of this whole season. Oh, it's so beautifully done and so well done. It's so thoughtful.
Yeah, so we are introduced. This is basically the true story of Kamal's great grandmother. So we are introduced to Aisha, who is just magnetic in her appearance and how she carries herself. She carries herself with a lot of she's very enigmatic. Yeah, she's got a lot of ferociousness, but she's got a lot of there's a calming nature to her too. She's just a very likable character, and just a character that you automatically want to root for as soon as you see her. You know she's telling the truth from this perspective. Yeah, you see her with the clandestines, and Kamran's mother's like, look, we got to find the other bangle. And Aisha's like, yeah. Like, I'll find it, and then we can go home. And then she's like, not so much on board with this mission anymore when she stumbles upon an Indian independence activist who offers her food and shelter. And she's like... And his heart. Yes. They fall in love. You know how this goes. Boy meets girl. Girl almost stabs boy.
Girls from other dimension. You know how this goes.
Typical romance.
Typical romance.
They have a child who, obviously, we know as Kamal's grandmother. And so, eventually, 5 years pass, and Kamran's mother shows back up, and she's like, will you find the bangle already?
Yeah.
And Aisha's like, I don't know. I don't know what happened to it. I'm happy here.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
And she's like, you're going to do this to me? You're going to do this to your own people? And Aisha's like, yeah, kind of.
Yeah. This show does such a great job of using the partition as a backdrop for everything. It's to levels of integrating real world things that happen. You know the other show I'm thinking of that did this really well? Watchmen. Watchmen does this the best.
Yeah.
Oh my god. And it's an event that I didn't even know was a thing until I watched this show.
Because they don't teach it.
Yeah.
They don't teach this stuff in schools, in American schools. They don't teach this stuff.
Same thing for the Watchmen for the
Massacre.
The Massacre on Black Wall Street. Same thing. They don't teach us about these things.
They teach us about the same stuff in history class. They teach us about the Revolution, they teach us about the Civil War, and then
Kennedy gets shot.
And then magically American history just ends.
Yep. That's it. That's all y'all need to know.
And they're like, ain't we great?
We smacked the British in the face, and then our brothers fought, and then Bush.
And then, ain't we great? And I'm like, wait a second.
Wait a minute.
You guys, I feel like, skipped a whole bunch. They're like, nah. And then we have to rely on our comic book shows to teach us about history. Terrible. That's my education rant for the week.
Yeah.
So Aisha.
I just wanted to talk about the Watchmen. I needed to find a way to get that in there.
No, but it's a good comp. It's a really fitting comp because you're right. This does show us the partition in a way that a lot of people probably don't know this even happened. And
then having that be the main central place where, the climax of your plot takes place too is really interesting as well. And then also going as far to having, the grandfather and Regina King's character, or Hooded Justice and Regina King's character meet, and then having Aisha and Kamala meet in this show.
So
it's like poetry, they rhyme.
So Aisha's like, we need to go. Not for the reasons that you're thinking, but we need to go.
Yeah. Hassan's very listen, he's the real world cop. He's like, we need to go because, we're all these forces are kind of incoming, but she's just like, we need to go for a very different reason. But I love how they kind of bounce off each other and they play off. It's like,
yeah, and even though he's an independence activist, he's like, this is so hard because my family built this house. Place, yeah. This is mine, and now I'm leaving it, and if I'm leaving it, I need to know I'm leaving it for a good reason. And Aisha's like, it is a good reason. We have to go. So then we get to the train station, and it's just a really tragic scene of all these people trying to flee. There's people on the roofs of the trains. It's so crowded. Just all these people trying to escape what's coming to be an awful kind of segregation and of these new Pakistani people of the Muslim community in India. That's basically what this is. And so they're getting ready to get on the train. Aisha gets separated from her family, from her husband and from her daughter. Then her daughter and her husband get separated from one another. And then Kamran's mother shows up and she's like, well, get stabbed, basically.
Yep. Kills Aisha. Yep. But while Aisha's, laying there dying,
Kamala appears,
and then we launch into the grandfather paradox, essentially.
Yeah.
Do you guys want the history lesson that I learned from Umbrella Academy? So, you hate your grandfather's a piece of crap, right? And he's the worst. He inadvertently killed your father. He's just abusive to your mother. And you're like, you know what? I'm gonna build time travel. So you go back in time and you kill your grandfather. However, the question needs to be asked, if you just killed your grandfather, then how were you ever born to go back and kill them? Can I be honest? I love how this show says we do not care.
Nope.
We don't care. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. She's here. She's the one that essentially, which we're about to get into, leads Kamala's grandmother, who's a baby at this time, back to her father.
Aisha says, save my daughter. And Kamala's like, that's you called me here, basically, to do this.
Right.
And, yep, it's the chicken and the egg thing. And Kamala does save her future grandmother, gets her on the train, and you find out Kamala is the one who made her grandmother ride the stars. She's the miracle that got her grandmother on that train that night.
It definitely feels like it gives Kamala a lot of validity to herself too. It makes her probably feel a little bit better about, her journey, and like, cause you gotta feel like she's lost a little bit up until that point.
Mm-hmm.
She hasn't had a lot of wins up until this point, and then this is probably one that makes her believe in herself a little bit more and what she's truly fighting for.
Yeah. She realizes that she saved her family in essence. And so she gets mission accomplished. She's back to the present, and the veil's been opened.
Oh crap! Not the veil.
But guess what? It's a veil that vaporizes you when you try to touch it.
So
as one of the clandestines finds out.
Right. So one of the clandestines touches it. You get vaporized.
She's like, we can go home.
Right.
Like a big interdimensional bug zapper.
Yeah. And then Kamran's mom's like, I'm also going to try. And then Kamal's just like, you didn't just see the other one just die? You got Kamran. You can't do this. And she's just like,
I have to.
I do have Kamran, don't I? Spirit transfers her powers into Kamran.
Dies.
And then dies.
And closes the veil.
And the clandestine.
So
that's it.
She did a good thing?
I don't know. I don't know if that's technically a good thing or if she thought Kamran was going to do what he did in the 6th episode. Who's to say?
Who's to say what a mom's true intentions are? Yeah. So she... Oh no, Captain America
fell. No. He'll be fine. He's got the hammer.
You're never getting him back up there. It's so hard to get that guy to stand up.
I'm getting him to stand. No, not Black Panther. We're having technical difficulties with the set. Oh no. I'm leaving him down here with me.
No, the Witcher just fell.
The Witcher just fell. I'm leaving him here with me. This is what happens when you take the pops out of the box. Cap's with me for the rest of the show.
So the mother and the grandmother show up. And they're like, oh my god, you have powers. Well, the mother's like, oh my god, you have powers. The grandmother's like, I knew it.
I knew it, yeah. She looked at Kamala's mom and she's just like, I told you I wasn't a crack pipe. I was serious.
And then a really amazing scene.
It just gives me chills to even think about it.
Her mother's like, you're a hero. She does the Thea Queen.
Yeah, she does do the Thea Queen. Yep.
When you're anticipating like the big blow up.
Oh yeah.
That's how you think the mother would act. But she's like, you're our hero. Like my daughter is a superhero.
Right.
Like not just a superhero, but she's like a superhero of our people.
Right. Which is so much more valuable and important to this story.
Like I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, Kamala Khan is such a proper entry into the MCU, into like superhero, like live action superhero culture that we need.
And then her mother and her grandmother have a really touching scene together.
This is what this show is.
Because, that's the backdrop between this dynamic is that the mother and the grandmother don't really get along. Like the mother moved away and she moved to America with her husband and became, this kind of uptight but like her grandmother shows Kamala like this was your mother when she was a child and shows her like pictures of like her mother and she's like, you were like that? And her mom was like, yeah.
You just never asked.
Yeah, you never asked. And it's so good. Like I can't stress enough how good it is, like this moment between like her mom and her grandmother like share like basically like the I'm sorry's.
Yeah,
essentially like
good.
They reconcile with each other.
Yeah, it's like a 2-episode thing. It's a 2-episode span they do it over. It's the first part of episode 4 is like, I never understood you and
why are you like
this? And then they finally get their reconciliation. And then moreover, that inspires Kamala's mother to have the reconciliation with Kamala and herself, and it comes full circle.
Oh, so good. And then like her mother picks up part of Kamala's necklace, and you'll realize it as the insignia on the suit.
Mm-hmm. And it's bent, but it's Kamala's name, which even goes even deeper into the end of the 6th episode. Oh man.
Yep. And then
it's the attention to detail the show pays.
We get another end of episode stinger. So we're back in America. Kamran finds Bruno and he's like, I need your help. And Bruno's like, I don't think we've ever talked to each other before.
Yeah, you keep calling me Brian.
He's like, but I need your help. And then damage control shows up.
They blow up Bruno's bodega. It's gone.
And you're like, oh no.
No. It's
curtains for Bruno and Kamran.
That's it.
And then we go to the finale. They're okay.
Of course.
So we got a citywide lockdown because Kamran's a superhuman now. Mm-hmm. He's got crystal powers like Kamala does. Kamala's here.
They're back, and I love how they do this because she sits them down parallel back to the first episode where she asked them about Avengers Con. Everybody's there. Yusuf's there. Her mom's there. Amir's there. Amir's wife is there. And she's just like, so, you guys know Nightlight? I'm her. And then they're all like, what? They pulled a U from all the times I talk about Spider-Man No Way Home. They're like, they what? You're what?
Yeah, and they're like, oh, like, Mom, you told them, and she's like,
I didn't tell them. I told your father, and your father had the phone on speaker, and then Amir just stands up in, like, one of his best comedic moments, just like, listen, your mom told Dad. Dad always has the phone on speaker. I told my wife.
It's really good. And then you get another touching moment between Kamala and her mom.
It's final. I love this perspective.
It's one of my favorite suit-up scenes that we've gotten in this.
Oh my gosh.
She's like, look, I know you have to go be a hero, but you can't go dressed like that.
Yeah, because you think she's going to be like, you can't go out there and be a superhero? That's for the big boys and girls. And she's just like, no, you can't go dressed like that. Here's a suit. And again, it's one of my favorite themes of this thing. It's one of my favorite themes of Shang-Chi. You are a makeup of everything that you are. Here's your new suit. Go be a hero. And hero she is.
It's a fantastic looking suit.
Oh my! It's probably one of my favorite suits from the MCU.
It looks fantastic. It looks amazing.
Wasn't expecting it to look that good, and it looks great.
Oh man, it looks so good. So she's suited up. She got the red Converses on. She's got the suit. She's got the scarf, the sash. Like, it's perfect comic book accurate Ms. Marvel costume. It looks so good. And then we get into a big Home Alone sequence.
Kind of do, yeah. So they go to Damage Control goes to the mosque. That's the secret you were talking about earlier, where they have all their IDs up. They do the Marvel hat thing.
Yeah,
where they think that's a disguise.
Yeah, Nakia at this point, we should clarify is in charge of the mosque at this point. She won her council election. She's running the show there, basically. And she's like, you can't come in here and I know my rights. And Damage Control is like, you sure about that? She's like, you're just gonna do whatever you want anyway, aren't you? And right. Like, yep.
Yeah. Kamal sees Kamran and Bruno, but the big thing that's happening to Kamran is that his powers he can't control them. He tells them feels like I'm like blowing up from the inside out.
Yeah. And all the meanwhile, Bruno's like, under no circumstance can you tell him what happened to his mom.
Right.
Because he's very volatile right now, and if you tell him the wrong thing at the wrong time, it might set him off down a dark path. So then, yeah. So
Home Alone.
We get to this Home Alone sequence in the high school.
Zoe's there,
and she's like, you saved my life. Hello, Kamala.
I knew
the whole time.
Yeah.
And again, it subverts the mean girl trope. She's like, no, I'm actually here to help you and use my substantial and otherworldly social media influence to help the situation. And then, again, we talked about how the first episode and the sixth episode are married by directors.
Yep.
We return to that Scott Pilgrim-esque.
There's so many callbacks.
Yeah, we return to that Scott Pilgrim-esque kind of sequence. We do the Kamala making a plan thing.
I love how Amir walks in. He's just like, superheroes don't have chaperones. He's like, take it up with mom. She's like,
He just shows up.
Yeah.
And they're like, how did you get here? And he's like, I went to school
He said,
here.
I went to school here. I know all the entrances.
So he's there. So we have our team of Kamala, Bruno, Kamran, Nakia, Zoe, and Amir. And they're going to go toe-to-toe with Damage Control, who the lady's like, non-lethal rounds.
Well,
Look,
first of all, the Damage Control guy from Far From Home, or from No Way Home, tells him, do not engage. And she says,
I'm gonna.
What if I do, though?
And yeah, she's like, non-lethal rounds. But look, those guns they were shooting, they didn't look very non-lethal.
No, they look like Stark Tech.
Like, they were blowing chunks off of walls.
Yep.
I'm like, non-lethal, you say? So yeah, we get into this hilarious kind of Home Alone sequence in high school. Damage Control agents are being pelted with softballs. They're being attacked by foam. They're doing we're all dressed alike and we're all running different directions.
With the fire extinguishers to make it smoky in here. It's great.
Meanwhile, Zoe's like, Damage Control's attacking a bunch of kids.
Come down to the high school.
Yep. So the crowd is a gathering outside the high school, and Kamala and Kamran are the targets here. Damage Control's like, they're two super powered people and they need to be stopped. And Kamran is struggling to maintain control.
Right.
He's he is trying to kill these guys.
Well, that's the thing. He's supposed to be the other side to Kamala's coin. He's like, this is what happens like if you act like this. That's what separates her as an actual hero versus somebody with powers.
Kamala's doing the classic, like, stopping the person at the last second from killing. Like, Kamran's like, are
You know what's my favorite version of that? Civil War with Bucky and Steve, where he throws the guy off and Steve catches him. He's like, come on, man.
But that's basically what this is.
Right.
It's like she's pushing damage control agents out of the way, and Kamran's like, are you serious? Like, these people are hunting us. They're not going to stop. And Kamal's like, I got a plan. I'm going to get you out of here. She calls her buddy from the Red Daggers, and she's like, I need you to help Kamran. And he's like, what?
Yeah.
And he's like, you know what, Kamala, you seem to be okay. I trust you. Like, I trust your judgment. Like, I'll tell you where to meet us and tell Kamran to be there. And she's like, hey, Kamran, I got someone to help you. And he's like, your pals from the Red Daggers? And she's like, And he's like, why wouldn't I just contact my mom?
Right.
And Kamala's like, ooh. And he's like, my mom's dead, isn't she?
And
she's like,
he loses it. He goes outside to find damage control.
He's like, damage control! Bring me damage control!
And
bring me the red-haired woman!
And right before Kamran's about to get shot, he's about to go mano a mano, Kamal jumps down in front of the entirety of Jersey City is what it feels like.
The rest of the crew has been incarcerated at this point. They've been taken into a truck. They played their part.
Yeah, they did.
Bruno gets absolutely savaged by the damage control agents.
He just gets straight up. That's police brutality. It's damage control brutality. And for no reason. He was just dancing. He just got socked. Messed up, man.
I was like, whoa. So yeah, Kamala jumps down to help Kamran. And
we got to get into the hero moment.
Yep,
everybody's got it.
And the whole community at large is watching at this point. And they're like, you're not about to hurt these kids, are you? And damage control's like, we're gonna.
Yeah, damage control's like, aim, ready, aim.
Damage control's like, all right. The lady's like, I've had enough of this. Yep. Get the big gun.
Yeah, get the big cannon. Get the big sonic cannon out. That Rhodey's probably like, boom, you looking for this?
She gets the big gun that they used in Obi-Wan, the same big gun. When Reva's like, get the big gun. And same thing, big gun.
You are a big gun. You're not the big gun. Talking about Iron Man 2 again. But yeah. She said it. She did the thing.
Whoop. Whoop. The Leo DiCaprio me. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
She did it.
In biggin. She biggins a bit.
Yeah.
She gets the big fists.
She's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
I don't even think she has like a full even understanding of her power yet.
No.
Yeah.
So she gets the big fists. Big fists, big stretchy arms. She gets big. She's socking damage control agents left and right. But unfortunately, Kamran is losing it.
Yeah, he is. My mom.
And his powers are all sorts of out of control. And
they're almost about to kill everybody. And
Kamal's like, oh, man. We got to get out of here. And she makes a little dome. Like a dome.
So they can have a nice little heart-to-heart.
Yeah. She's like, get out of it. You get out of here. I'll buy you some time.
And it's the whole theme for damage control. They're never going to stop hunting us, no matter what. And she's just like, we're not normal, but it's fine.
But normal's overrated.
Normal is overrated.
And then, Kamran escapes, and damage control's like, all right, one got away, but we can take her down. And the community's like hell you will.
Yeah, surrounds Kamala in a really nice sentiment. Probably a better sentiment than what Falcon and the Winter Soldier was going for at the end.
Yeah, they're like,
you got to do better, Senator.
This is our hero. Like, you're not taking her.
Yeah, she's a hero, but she is a hero. She's not a villain, and she's not to be apprehended. She's protecting us.
And then she's like, you want me to go through all of you people? I will.
And then the guy, the damage control agent that everybody likes calls, just like, the heck are you doing? I'm looking at the 6 o'clock news and looks like you're fired. Oh man,
you and your team.
Yeah, you and your team fired.
How are you going to explain to your team that they all lost their jobs?
Unbelievable.
So she hangs up and she's like, all right, boys, pack it in. And they leave.
That's it.
Fine. Good resolution, I think. Very young adult resolution.
Right,
it wasn't like a big fight between hero and villain. It was just the community stood up for their hero, and the villains were just like, all right, we're out of here.
And then we get a little TikTok montage where the whole community's behind. She doesn't have a name yet, but it's Nightlight. The whole community's behind. They're like, we got our own hero.
Nakia and Zoe have like a collab video together.
Now they're like friends.
Yeah.
Moreover. Yeah. But again, how this episode just mirrors episode 1 so beautifully. She finally looks in the mirror with her new costume.
She does the classic Ms. Marvel, like hands on her hips, does the big stand up. So we get a couple comic homages in this episode.
And then we get the scene on the roof. Oh, it's so...
There's so many
scenes. Well done.
There's so many scenes in the show that just warm your heart. There aren't a lot of these Marvel shows that have done these genuine, heartwarming moments.
Yeah, I mean, Guardians has it in droves. This has it. I think Spider-Man has it pretty well. Mm-hmm. But this is unique to me.
Yes. And her father just comes out onto the roof, and again, you talked about Yusuf being just an absolute gem in this show. He goes into basically the explanation of why we named you what we named you.
Yeah, and it's also he gives her the hero fire. Like he gives her his version of great power, great responsibility.
Yeah.
It goes into if you save one life, you save.
They borrow a lot from the comics. Especially the line, I think does he say it in the first episode or the second episode? Good's not a thing that you are, it's a thing you do. Yeah, they do that. And then they do that as well. And he explains to her, do you know where your name comes from? And, it's,
because in Arabic, it's more like perfect.
Perfect. And she's like, oh my God. Yeah. Like, Dad. Like, yeah.
But in Urdu, it's kind of like
he's like, oh, like he's trying to, and then he goes, Marvel. And he goes, you are little Miss Marvel. And
she's just like, did you name me after Carol frickin' Danvers? And he's like, you bet I did, because she's a central character. And I love how she's just like, did you name me after Carol Danvers? And he's like, I don't know who that is.
Our little Miss Marvel. Amazing.
I love how proud he looks at her when she leaves too.
Yep. And then she leaves. It's like the end of Spider-Man No Way Home. Like she goes out into the city. And then again, you get a classic comic book shot of her sitting on the light post, looking across the bay at New York City from her little town in Jersey.
But she understands. And I love how the camera spins to go back to Jersey City because that's what she protects for the time being.
Oh God, I just loved it. I loved it so much. Yeah. Like I'm so giddy talking about it because it's so good. And then she meets up with Nakia and Bruno. Bruno was leaving for Caltech. He's going.
He's got Kamran's car.
He's got Kamran's car. He's like, he just left it for me.
No, he's a fugitive now.
They're like, no, he didn't. You guys weren't even friends. And he's like, we are best buds.
Yeah. Now that he left me his vehicle, I love this guy.
And Nakia's like, how about me and Kamala take the car and you can hoof it, Bruno?
All right, is everybody ready? Because this is the thing. This is the thing. So
he had to put Captain America down.
I did have to because this is whoa man. All right,
go
ahead. Right, yeah. So basically, Bruno's like, hey, Kamal, remember earlier when I was just like the Bengal didn't give you your powers? You already had the power inside of you. Cool. He's like, well, Amir asked me, am I also going to get these cool powers? And then he told him, nah, Kamal, you got something inside you. I looked at your genes, and you're going to be like, the Inhuman thing. The Bengal had a little bit of Terrigen in it. It was pulled off a Kree arm, whatever. And then I need a classic. I need one.
Do you need a dun dun?
Yeah, I do. I need a real good one.
Dun dun dun.
Then he says, in your genes, there's a mutation, and then we get
And then he looks at the camera?
Nope.
And he winks?
He didn't actually do that, but he said there's a mutation. It's almost like a mutation, and then we get the 90s X-Men theme, and I was like,
it's a little...
I don't care.
It's a little much.
Don't care. Doesn't matter. We don't care.
The guitar riff is a little much.
I don't care. Don't care. Doesn't matter. It was amazing. I was like, there is absolutely no way they just did that. So
yeah.
Kamal Khan. Okay, for now she's a mutant. I don't think she's a mutant. I just think he used the word mutation, and Marvel was just like, we have the greatest San Diego Comic-Con's in 2 weeks. We gotta capitalize.
Have fun with this.
Yeah, let's have fun with this. Oh man. Ooh, boy, did that thing get things jumping.
And then, yeah.
So, and then she's just like, it's just another label, and she just.
I loved how she reacted to that. Like, she's like, I'm used to labels, whatever.
Professor X is just in the background, like, it's gonna recruit you.
So yeah, Kamala is potentially the first mutant in the MCU. Fun.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
And then we get to the show ends.
Yeah, the more important one possibly, which is crazy to even say. Well, the more important one for the Marvels, yeah.
Because we were so steadfast in our assumption that Brie Larson was
were steadfast. You talked me out of it, and I wish you hadn't have, because I was right. Man, I'm not listening to you anymore.
So Kamala is in her bedroom, and then the bangle starts glowing, and she's like, oh, it's glowing. And then she whoop, And she goes through the door, and lo and behold,
Brie Larson stands up. Will the real Captain Marvel please stand up?
And a fantastic redesign of her costume and just her presentation in general. Just really great with the little side part bit that she's got going on. She's got a nice little 3/4 sleeve with the fingerless gloves. And she's like, where the hell am I?
And moreover, why does this room look like a shrine to me?
And she's like, oh, no.
Yep. And
then cut to black.
Cut to black, that's it. And
Ms. Marvel will return
in the Marvels, yeah.
Brie Larson, that show is good.
Brie Larson's back on Earth.
Yep.
So Carol Danvers is back on Earth. And
in Kamala's house.
Right, and presumably Kamala's across the entire universe somewhere. Probably very confused.
Yeah.
What a show, man.
It's so good.
I really, really was just taken aback by... and I said it from the first trailer. I was like, it didn't blow me away, but I was like, there's some potential here. And then once you get into like the
stuff... Is that the Weeknd?
Yeah, is that the Weeknd? You're like, man. I'm in. I can't say enough good things about this show. I'm trying to think about things I didn't love. I mean, obviously there's things you just... Nothing's 100. There's like very few things that are like 100% perfect, but I don't know. As a coming of age story, that's what this needed to play as. It needed to play as a coming of age story. It needed to play as an identity story for a young girl, a Muslim girl on top of that, and a person that's, a superhero on top of that. And it does all those things very well. The whole backdrop of the partition just played just beautifully, and Aisha herself and kind of her story weaving into Kamala with the grandfather paradox. This show's poetic. This show is very poetic.
Yep. Yeah, this show, like I said, it hits every beat. I told you before, the show could have survived on its own as a young adult story that didn't have anything to do with superheroes. If you had told me this story was something that didn't involve any type of superpowers, wasn't connected to Marvel or anything, and I got this exact kind of show with these characters, it's still probably a really good young adult show. You know what I mean? I loved it. I loved it from start to finish. I wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did. Yeah. And
it's funny. I was watching this show with my mom and my sister weekly, and that's the first time this combination in my family had been watching the show, and it was something about like a mother and a daughter, like that thing. People of color, like it's just all those things culminated. Like it is such like a relatable story. Just some of the nuances were just hit spot on, and it's just really beautiful to see what they crafted out of this show. And I think Iman Vellani's going to be an absolute megastar after this. This is like the breakout role for her of breakout roles, so I can't wait to see what the Marvels kind of has to present with Tiana. I think it's Tiana Paris. I've been saying Tiana Paris. I think it's Tiana Paris, but the three of them, Brie Larson, Tiana Paris, and Iman Vellani, with Nia DaCosta as the director, I think is a really good choice.
And Nia DaCosta directed this particular post-credits.
Right, yep. And you probably got to assume that this is probably where the Marvels is going to immediately take off. Like, she's probably going to walk downstairs and be like, what am I doing? She's going to be like, where am I in New Jersey?
Because there were theories that Kamala had shapeshifted into Carol.
Right, which is a play on is from the comics, but I think what this is, it's the Marvel era of Captain Marvel comics.
We're dealing with the nega bands.
Right, right, which is basically when Marvel was in the negative zone, Rick Jones was the only one that can kind of like, he replaced him essentially, so they can like, they switch spots. So I think that's exactly what this is. I think that Captain Marvel probably picked up the other bangle from across the universe and they switched spots. So
that's what I would assume also.
There's been huge rumors. I think we're probably going to get a first look at the Marvels on Saturday. Like Saturday's the day. Like Saturday, I got to call out of work. I gotta fly to San Diego. Like Saturday's the day where apparently we're gonna learn. We're gonna find out what this new thing is, because I think we even said it before. I think there's three layers. There's gonna be the street layer. There's gonna be like the Avengers layer, and then there's gonna be the cosmic layer, and they're all gonna bleed into each other in the Secret Wars. So this is probably the cosmic piece to this. Like whatever happens, like I think they could do something that looks like the Kree Skrull War. They could do like They could do pieces from Infinity where like all like the Shi'ar, they're like all warring with each other. Like they can do like a whole bunch of things. So yeah, we'll see. But I actually, this got me super, like, I didn't know how I felt about the Marvels before. I'm very intrigued, and that doesn't come without Iman Vellani as Miss
in
Marvel.
a weird way, she, has become the star.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and I think that's what they wanted, because they knew people probably weren't as high on Brie Larson before, so they're like, perfect. We have Tiana Perez. People are, really liking her as Monica Rambeau. She's really tough. She's really, she's really rugged. She's not like a back down person, and I think she gained a lot of fans from that. And then having Kamala Khan here too, I think this movie's going to culminate to something special.
Yeah, it's so weird how this went from a Captain Marvel like standalone sequel to like Captain Marvel and Monica Rambeau, and then they were like, oh, by the way, Kamala Khan is also going to be in this movie, and you're like, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And then this show comes out, and all of a sudden, I think out of the three of them, I'm most excited to see her again.
Oh, me too. Yeah, me too. I think you probably agree with me. We like Brie Larson in this house.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see her doing something different compared to what she's done in the Captain Marvel solo movie and in Endgame.
Yeah, and again,
where she kind of just serves as like this gun.
Yeah, and I think if Spider-Man's journey in the MCU taught us anything, you can't judge off, because it's a full story that needs to be told. And like a big piece of this for Carol, I think she's finally going to have to reconcile for her leaving Earth for all that time, because like you made the point, she's like the ex machina gun. Like now you have to kind of be a person, because I did one of my big theories is that she's going to come back to Earth, and she's probably going to go looking for Maria and Monica's going to be like, I kind of hate you. You left and my mom died and you were nowhere to be found.
I think that's the piece that's missing from that character is the humanization piece, because even I understand the arc of the first Captain Marvel movie about discovering her powers and being kind of unleashing herself from this Kree kind of hive mind, right? And that's what that first movie is about. And higher, further, faster, right? But we have yet to really see her be truly humanized.
Yeah. And post-Endgame humanized. We need to see her in the modern age, like, as not just a caricature, but as a character herself. And I think
hey, man, when in doubt, stick your hero with a kid.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be good, because it's like this person that looks up to you, and I think a big thing that might play for her is like, don't meet your heroes. I think that might be something that plays into this. Like, Kamala could be like, I have every reason to believe I'm more of a hero than you are. Like, I'm just as much as a hero as you are. Like, look what I can do. And like, obviously something that I don't know about these Bengals, because this is your territory.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. And like I said, when you need help humanizing your hero, stick them with a kid. We saw that with Tony and Peter. We saw that with Doctor Strange and America Chavez. We saw it with Hawkeye and Kate Bishop. This trope does work.
I agree.
When humanizing your characters, and I think maybe more than all those other characters, Captain Marvel maybe needs this the most.
I agree.
And I think it's going to give Brie Larson a chance to kind of expand more than, like I said, just that ex machina kind of just hero at the last moment,
right? But like, even to relay her back to Kamala, now she's the fish. I mean, they're both now in the fish out of water story, because like, another thing, she doesn't spend time on Earth. Like, now she's gonna be forced to spend a little bit of time on Earth. Like, it's something that I was wishing they would do a little bit with.
How are Kamala's parents gonna react to, like, because they're gonna immediately assume like Carol did this.
I would also like to see, what if they thought that was Kamala? That would be kind of interesting. Like, they don't know what that Bengal can do. What if they thought she shapeshifted into her? Like, that would be kind of interesting. So
yeah, so I wonder how much Kamala's family is gonna play in this film.
I hope they're just I hope they just put them in the beginning for a little bit, because again, the other side to this is like, Kamala's halfway across the galaxy, just, like, the heck just happened? Like, I hope they just drop her in the middle of like a war or something. Like, I do think that's what's going to happen. Like, it's going to be like a comedic thing, but she's going to get dropped into something she doesn't want to be dropped into. But just that through line of, kind of having, Monica's relationship with Brie or with Carol be, just completely.
And even like the trio of them together is interesting, because if it does take that path of Monica being kind of skeptical of Carol, she could look at Kamala and be like, why do you idolize Carol so much? Like,
right? No, yeah, that's a big thing.
I idolized Carol too.
Yeah.
Like when I was a girl.
And look what happened. Yeah. She left. She leaves. That's what she does. That's her thing.
So I think that could be super interesting too. There's a lot of interesting ways that this could play out.
Yeah, and it's funny, we're barely talking about like the superhero lore aspects of this, so we're talking about the character, but that's what they got to focus on. That's
Correct.
the thing that's going to set this apart.
Yeah. Character drive story, as I always say. You know, you can tell a subpar story if your characters are amazing, and you have Kamala, you have Monica, and the only one that really needs kind of rehabilitation is the Captain Marvel character.
Agree.
And I think that's just a fault of they needed to get her into Avengers Endgame, so they kind of like rushed that whole thing,
because that movie essentially should have probably came out in like 27. It should have came, because the question was like, do you do her modern and like just have her drop in? But then it would have been the practicality, like, oh, another superhero right before Thanos comes, how convenient. But one that was in space for this whole time is a little bit.
She's really misused in Avengers Endgame. You said she's just that ex machina.
Yep.
Right in the beginning, she's the ex machina, and at the end, she's the ex machina, and you're like, oh, this isn't great. So I'm curious to see post Endgame, we can really let this character breathe and develop, and that's a super exciting prospect. Pairing her with Kamala and Monica is a great decision. You know, it's a great reworking of what was going to be Captain Marvel 2 is now just a Marvel's kind of trio film, which is fun.
Yeah.
Which we haven't gotten really before, where it's like 3 leads.
Yeah, right. Anybody you want to see show up in this movie?
I don't know.
The only person I can think of is maybe Blue Marvel is a nice.
You've been waiting for that guy.
Yeah, I have. Nice little love interest for Monica would be nice. I mean, I don't want to say it. I can't say anything Fantastic Four related because then I'll get ostracized. I can't have it, so I won't. But no, I can't. The only thing would be like if they go into like they do some of the Marvel cosmic stuff. Like we do see like, you know, the remnants of the Kree Scroll. I know there's going to be something that's happening in space. Like there's going to be an event that's happening. That's going to be the thing that happens. And you're like, oh crap. Like this is what the movie's truly about. This is what the villain.
Of course. Yeah.
Did they say, I know the villain's cast. Did they say who it is?
I don't think
That's
so.
what I want to know.
I can try and find out real quick. That'll be the last thing I do.
Yeah. But I mean, good show, man. I really enjoyed it. I can't wait. The Shang-Chi thing I was talking about.
Zawe Ashton has been cast, but there's no clear who she's portraying.
Yeah, I don't know. There's routes you can go. You can do a nihilist. That's the thing. That would be a kind of interesting one to do. Like if you decided to go the Annihilus route, you're like, what if there's just a wave of just, you know, unstoppable force moving throughout the galaxy, and we're gonna need a little Marvel help to do this, because they already used Marvel and they killed her off, like she's gone. I thought that was gonna be something they saved, but you know, they used it, and that's fine. So they got routes, they got options they can take.
Yeah, and that's exciting at the end of the day.
Nova, Nova Stinger, maybe.
Was this?
They're in space.
Is this coming before or after Guardians 3?
This is before Guardians 3.
Ooh.
This is going to be a little Nova Stinger, yeah.
Because I was thinking Nova could be saved for Guardians.
Because I think we talked about it, like, not on here, but that I do think they're going to form a new Guardians of the Galaxy with, like, Adam Warlock, Nova, Moondragon. Like, there's going to be a new team that forms out of, like, the old team. And, like, I do think it's going to be Gamora from 2014 and Rocket are going to be the only two that kind of survive and go on to this new team. Maybe a Silver Surfer in that new team. Possibly.
Whoa.
Boom. Boom, you looking for this?
Well, yeah. It's exciting. I'm glad that we're ramping up. It seems like we've ramped up every other level of the MCU right now, like the street level stuff, the Avengers level stuff, but now it feels like the cosmic stuff through this show is starting to ramp up, and you know, through Loki also. Yeah,
it's like I don't even count Loki as the cosmic stuff. That feels like the overbearing stuff. Like that's the thing. Like that's the thing that's coming. That's like that's like what Thor: Love and Thunder was doing with Eternity. Like that's like the cosmic entities. Like that's just above everything. Yeah.
Eternals did that.
Yep. Man, Eternals. I'll say it. Said it before. It is underrated. Y'all got to give that movie another chance.
But that's Miss Marvel.
That's Miss Marvel.
Really great. Really great. I don't know how many times I can say that. I've probably said it a bunch during this recording, but it's really great. If you were one of those people that wasn't willing to give it a chance,
please do.
I suggest you reconsider, because this is as good as it gets for what the MCU can put out, and even beyond what the MCU can put out. Just a great story in general. Really,
it's the story, man, that keeps hitting me.
A really great look into a perspective that is not your own, more than likely. If you're someone that was not into the idea of the show, chances are that you're not you're not the representative audience of this.
And even so, I don't even love that point, because
I don't either.
How am I relating to Tony Stark?
Yeah,
man's rich.
Moreover than that,
he's a genius.
Would it kill you to learn about something else?
Right,
outside your bubble.
Right.
Learn someone else's experience, which again, it's kind of nuts to compare this to The Watchmen, but there's a lot of similar through lines compared in terms of representative experience. Oh,
I love that show with such a ferocious.
We'll have to talk about that show.
I genuinely think it is one of the best modern, not superhero shows, just shows. I remember when that was coming out, week to week, we were we couldn't believe it was a real show that was being released, how good it was.
Yeah, it's
just
really
the quality and quality control. Just Regina King herself is just amazing.
It shares a lot of through lines with that show, and I really appreciated what they did with the show, because in terms of, we've gotten a lot of different things in this Phase 4 in terms of stylistically, but this
you want to talk about it? The Phase 4 elephant in the room that's been going around the last month?
That it's no good?
That it's no good? Should we save it? Should we get into it? Maybe we should wait for Comic-Con to talk about it.
Yeah, let's wait.
It's a huge elephant that's been nagging at me, and I genuinely don't. I know why it is. I just don't understand. I know really the real reason behind it.
Yeah, me too.
Because not every movie can be Avengers Endgame and Spider-Man. That's not. You guys are acting. There's this trend where people are I like Marvel movies, and they're no, I like Marvel movies, and they cut back, and then there's cuts from Thor 2. I'm when did we start calling Thor 2 a good movie?
There's more of a nefarious kind of element to it also.
Agreed.
When you look at how the show's being received, how Sam Wilson is being received.
That got real life. It's hilarious how how art imitates life, because he said the line and just magically it happened in real life.
Yeah. I just when this started happening, I thought back to the Isaiah Bradley piece of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they'll never let a black man be Captain America.
And then it happened.
And it's happening.
It's happening. It even goes as deep as to Chris Evans saying, no, he's Captain America, and people telling Chris Evans, no, you're Captain. He's no, I'm not.
Is that, a lot of stuff with the backlash to the Eternals.
The Eternals was a huge one, yeah.
Was really awful.
Too much forced type. What, does everybody have to look one way in space?
It's and it's, unless there's a serious shift in mentality, this is just going to keep happening, because guess what? This is the new reality. This is the reality we're getting into. We're finally getting a more diverse group of heroes, which, looking at Phase 1 of the MCU,
not the case.
It was very white. The first phase of the MCU.
Yeah.
So, we're getting into a more diverse group of heroes, and that's awesome. and that should be celebrated, because it's even in the comics, it took a while to get to this point.
But what people wanted? More heroes. They were one of the big arguments with Civil War is there wasn't enough heroes. We're giving them to you, and you're complaining. Can you believe we've got the Eternals in live action? You know how incredible that is? We got Moon Knight in live action. Played by Oscar Isaac, moreover.
We got Scarab.
We got Scarab.
Scarlet Scarab.
We have the Red Daggers.
Which has... That's also one of my favorite costumes that we've got.
Oh, yeah.
The Scarlet Scarab costume. That's a rad looking costume.
Can we give Layla Al-Fuli her own... Just give her own show.
Yeah.
Agatha Harkness gets her own show, she gets her own show.
I'd love that.
Yeah.
More Scarlet Scarab.
Yeah. What a show, man.
Up yours, woke moralists.
Don't do it, man. We can't have that crowd after us. I don't know if we can survive this.
Or I should say, up yours, non-woke moralists.
Oh, man.
All right. time to go.
Yeah.
What's the next thing? Oh, Comic-Con. Well, the boys. We're going to talk about the boys.
Yeah, we're going to find some time to talk about the boys, and then we were going to do Comic-Con as a shorter, like, oh crap, this is happening, but I have a sneaking suspicion. We're
going to have a lot to talk about.
We're going to get a mic drop.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot to talk about. Yeah. A lot of reveals, a lot of speculation, not just on the Marvel side, but just Comic-Con in general is it seems like this is the year, like Comic-Con returns.
Yeah.
Somehow Comic-Con returns.
It's funny how, Marvel's the one that, it's like having LeBron James play in the NBA. When he's there, people watch.
Yeah.
When he's not there, less people watch.
Somehow Comic-Con returns.
Yeah. Said, clear out Hall H. Papa's coming home.
So yeah, we're going to have the boys' little review later this week.
What are you drinking?
What?
What are you drinking?
Shake Shack. You want one?
Oh, man.
We're going to talk...
The full Not Safe for Work review of The Boys Season 3.
It's going to be 45 minutes just talking about how great Anthony Starr is.
Oh, my God. Put Anthony Starr in every show that ever is released.
I think I might have mentioned that the show feels like it's hitting its Game of Thrones kind of... where people are it's starting to hit the mainstream.
Mainstream, yep.
And good, because that show has been, since season 1 to now, has been spectacular. Beyond all like the hyper violence and the gratuity and all that stuff, it's a good
story, man.
It's one of my favorite, maybe social satire shows ever.
Todd. Todd.
I love Black Lives Matter. It's my favorite hashtag. Oh boy. So you have that to look forward to.
Yeah.
I might have to explicit tag that episode.
Yeah, that one's gonna get raunchy.
I might just have to explicit tag that episode and we'll just have to cut loose.
Yeah, that might be the one. Go off the rails. I might have a drink. I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah. But until then, you can find us on Twitter at ProjectINF_pod.
You didn't ask me what I was doing.
Oh, what are you doing?
Oh, crap. What are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing, really.
That's it?
I'm getting ready to play Stray.
Oh, yeah. Shout out Stray.
The cat game.
The cat game.
Free for PlayStation Premium subscribers.
Yeah.
Get in on that.
I wanted to dedicate the end of this episode to a review. Hot TV review. From Hulu.
I thought it was going to review of this podcast.
Oh, I was just going to review, like, ourselves? Like a performance review?
I thought someone had a review of our podcast.
That would be kind of funny. But no, I watched this just absolutely incredible show from Hulu called The Bear. Man, oh man. So I had a feeling, if you guys know Shameless, the oldest brother from Shameless is the main character in this show. Lip from Shameless. I'm getting his real name now. But, Jeremy Allen White. He turns in an Emmy performance this show next year. I don't know if it's going to reach, like, Succession level, but I can see the show getting to, like, Barry level, where it's got, like, a lot of, like, singular awards for people and writing awards for people. This show defines kind of intensity and style. It's got like a lot of 70s kind of crash zooms, kind of, B-roll shots. Like it's really got a lot of like 70s filmmaking influence, but man, the narrative of this show is so tough and it's so rugged, but there's also this beauty that's laid over it through the kitchen and through the eyes of all the chefs. This story follows Carmine. His brother recently committed suicide, and he kind of gets his restaurant, but you find out that he's a world-renowned chef. He's like a 5-star rated Michelin chef. He worked in the most famous kitchen in the world, but he finds out that his brother left the restaurant to him. So he kind of takes it over and kind of goes through the trials and tribulations of dealing with, or more importantly for the story, not dealing with the loss of his brother and kind of having to run this, kitchen that needs a lot of tender love and care, which it doesn't have at the moment. Narrative's amazing. The show it's one of the best looking shows that I've seen. It's really beautifully shot. And like I said, it's the pace and the intensity is so jarring. Like they shot episode 7 in a one take, and you feel the intent. And I saw a lot of comments of people that worked in the kitchen. They were like, finally, like a show that gets like what it really feels like to work in a kitchen.
Kitchen representation.
Kitchen representation matters. No, but this show is an absolute gem. I mean, it's got like a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. Not that that means the world, but you could tell like people are really liking this show. Any comment section I read,
Marvel.
right? Any comment section that I read on this show, it's like this show is amazing. This show is great. It hits all the beats. I don't even want to spoil the cameo that's in the person that plays his older brother.
Don't spoil it.
No, it's I watched and I was like, did they just get who I thought they got to play his older brother?
It's Alden Ehrenreich.
No, it's not. As Riri Williams. No, it's not. But no, that show is it's probably in my like top 10 favorite show. I don't this show just hit me. I don't know what it was about it. It hit me emotionally. This is like kind of like how I would like my filmmaking style to be. It's so rich. So rich. So go watch The Bear on Hulu. All 8 episodes are out. It's like 25 to 30 minute episodes. Nice afternoon watch. But it is, like I said, it is intense, but there's a subtlety to the quiet moments that really kind of shine through. Cool. Much like modern day cooking.
Nailed it.
Just like poetry, they rhyme. I ruined it.
Cool. So that show's not about bears then.
Nope.
Dang it.
I mean, there is a bear in there.
Is that the cameo? His big brother was played by a bear?
No, but there's like a bear that's like haunting his dreams.
Oh, so it's like
It's not excessive. It's literally like it's like 2 seconds.
New Mutants.
Oh.
New Mutants had a bear.
One day we're going to talk about New Mutants. The monstrosity of a movie. They wasted like just young talent in that movie for nothing. They didn't need to make that movie.
No, they didn't.
That movie was like the last one. It didn't matter.
Oh, man. All right, guys. We're getting out of here.
Yeah, we got to get out of here.
Back to the plugs.
Yeah, back to the plugs. Sorry, I had to interrupt the plugs.
Twitter.
Yeah.
Project INF_pod. You can follow us on Facebook. You can listen to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, wherever you get your podcast sent to you.
Your grandmother's radio. I'm going to get that joke off every week.
Your 8-track player, record player.
When you're trying to find the transmission to get yourself from to get across the world from Stranger Things, that thing.
Burn it to a CD.
Burn it to a CD. Don't do it illegally though.
No. Yeah, because we get paid so much money to do this.
I had my goal. Our goal is, listen, I'm sick and tired of waiting for movies to come out. We're going to get to these movie premieres.
You can follow us on Instagram.
At the Project Infinite Pod.
Thank you.
Live from Comic-Con. No, we're not. Because we didn't get tickets. And we don't live in San Diego.
We're going to talk about The Boys later this week, which I'm debating on explicit tagging that and just letting us go crazy.
Yeah.
And then next week, we're going to talk about all the Comic-Con fallout. Not just the Marvel stuff, but just everything.
Black Adam.
Yep.
That's the only thing DC brings. That's like the only, like, Marvel's just like, here's Secret Wars, here's the Fantastic Four, here's the X-Men, and then DC rolls out, and it's just Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
That's all you need.
He's just like, do you smell what The Rock is cooking? And everybody's like, oh, shoot.
He's going to say the thing. The hierarchy of power in the DC universe is about to change.
He just like, Henry Cavill walks out, he just punches him in the face, and he leaves. Told you.
Oh,
Boom,
man.
you looking for this?
The Yusuf of the podcast.
Ah, yes. I'm not a father, but
you have fatherly energy.
I really do. It's not good. Maybe that's why I related to him so quickly. I'm just very like protective.
All right, guys. Oh no, Court just vanished and Brie Larson just showed up.
You think I was going to do a Brie Larson impression? I was in Short Term 12. I'm Brie Larson.
That was great.
That's what I was going for.
It's almost like she was here in the room.
Yeah. Didn't we do the same thing for the 50th episode? Who was I impersonating? Was it The Rock?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was The Rock. I'm The Rock. The hierarchy of power in the DC universe is about to change.
The hierarchy in the podcasting universe is about to change.
We're coming for you, Joe Rogan.
Oh man. Alright guys. We'll see you later this week for The Boys, but more extensively next week for Comic-Con.
I can't wait.
Me either. Until then.
You trying to fly out there?
Right now?
Can somebody sponsor us so we can fly out there last second? I will quit my job to make sure I get to San Diego Comic-Con. I will need to, make this a stable job, and I will be asking no less than $800,000 a year for this, but
need that Spotify money.
Yeah. Hey man, you gotta dream big. Once we get the Apple Podcast money and the Spotify money, it's over. Wait till we get the YouTube ad revenue too.
Yes.
We're gonna get our Tiny Tim reboot off the ground.
Eventually, we're gonna get a YouTube channel up and running.
Yeah, and then the Tiny Tim gritty reboot, Barney gritty reboot. Watch out for our Tiny Tim gritty reboot. We're in the age of gritty reboots.
They're not ready for it.
They're not ready for it. Neither is Tiny Tim apparently.
All right, guys.
You gotta get out of here.
We gotta get out of
here. You
here.
gotta go, man. We started with Jeffrey Wright. We're gonna end with Jeffrey Wright.
You looking for this guy, Jim?
Hey, boss, chain of command. You just gonna let the Bat walk in here? And you guys said the Batman wasn't funny.
Who are these cops?
It's Gotham City. I love the Batman, and it's specifically for that reason of the cops just being like Martinez. Like, give Martinez his own spin-off show. Give him a wife and kid. Give him a husband and kid.
Oh, man.
It's great.
All right. We'll see you next week, guys. Goodbye.
Peace.